A giraffe. Music might be a little loud. We actually have a bunch of events going on today, which is very cool. I think in the future I'd love to do watch-alongs with folks. Let me make sure I have all my notes here. So, and my schedule. So we'll be running about 10 minutes behind, but that's fine. I think one of the videos is actually kind of short too. So, all right. Let's do it. All right. So we got a giraffe here, and their notes are. Okay, they said, keep in mind the first 9 or so rounds weren't cast. There was a bug with the server. Okay, well, we might skip over that. We'll watch some of it. Looking for feedback. Is the channel we're going into? Whoa, we got new Amoeba protocols. Very cool, very cool. Alrighty, so a draft said do. Alright, let's see if we know. Are they solo casting? I think this might be the solo casting VOD. All right, let's just jump into it. Let's jump into it. Or how are we doing on time? So
we see the T side are basically, they're not super bunched up. They're a bit spread out. You've got Steve-O's on the op going.
I've been really liking
what looks like
watching tac shooters more lately as I've been learning more about the game.
Push, and then you've got
the games.
In lower tunnels. Looking like they're going to set up for
Counter-Strike and Valorant.
Going through mid, setting up that very nice.
Did we just jump into the middle of this? I think the VOD they gave me was timestamped to this
point. I don't know where that flash came from, but if that was
I think they might have timestamped me past. Yeah, they did.
Missed
a bunch of stuff.
They're still wary of long doors, thinking, oh, and they've seen it. Questioner, aggressive on long doors with the op, or was that Izzy? Sorry, that was Izzy on long doors, aggressive, and Steve-O's is lucky there to get away with that because he was not prepared.
So I think first I gotta start by saying solo casting is never ideal.
The CT side.
So there's that.
They're staying spread out and they're not sure yet.
So I'm gonna listen to a bunch and kind of.
They're rotating away from the B site, which is exactly where 4 of
say
these
what I'm
players
noticing
are.
as
One's
we go.
Gonna come through window. Ooh, missing a shot. That was a crucial one to hit. Does catch the second on the black.
Is this my network or?
Blackie though, before getting taken down by the flames, and Richie getting a headshot onto Rax, and that leaves the CT side in a 2v4 on the B side.
Let me know how audio is if y'all.
Richie is on 3 HP.
I'm trying to watch the levels though.
Still leaves it as a very, very difficult round to win, because the B side is notoriously difficult to retake on the CT side, especially if you're down on numbers. It's difficult if you have even numbers, but if you're down on numbers, it is almost impossible. It requires either a huge mistake to be made by the T side or just excellent utility use that really fleshes out all the positions. And they're thinking the better of it. They don't have the economy to really go for this push and this retake. So they're doing the smart choice, saving their ops, saving an AK. Very valuable on the CT side, that. So now everyone's got 5 to 6K, and they should be able to put together a more convincing buy. But this is looking like a very good start for Maestro on their opponent's map pick, remember. So,
all right, it's good context there. So I mean, we talked about economy, or a draft points out economy going into the round, that this would be a better buy for 9 bets move, but Maestro haven't been a good start, and that it's not their map pick, it's 9's map pick. So I think that's good context. I think I'd like to see, where do you go from here? How do you use that moving forward?
Looks like the T side are going for a short push, and they're heard, but Izzy just cannot get the kill, getting a leg tag. But they could dunk them, doesn't though, and that utility is going to slow them down a little bit. And while Rax, he catches one through the smoke, retreating on short. And this leaves the T side in a very difficult situation. They only have two smokes left.
My mic is very
They
grainy.
really like to use to get a bomb plant. And
My mic is grainy. Let's see here. I might listen back to myself a little bit here. Let's see here. I might listen back to myself a little. Does it still sound grainy to you? Does it still sound grainy? Oh God, it's gonna do the continuous feedback. Let's see here. Let me make sure my settings are correct. Yeah. It might be your phone. Yeah, potentially. Let's see here. Let me listen to it on my phone here. Do. Hello, Staged. How are you doing? About 10 minutes behind, but I think we'll be able to catch up very soon. Boo-doo-doo-doo. Boo-doo-doo-doo. Mic is good for me. Okay. Cool. Oh God, I have to wash through Cyberpunk ads. All right, let me know if it gets worse. So we'll keep going.
to secure a site. They don't want to use that to retreat from short, so they're stuck in a difficult
Thanks for the feedback,
position,
though.
although the CT side have backed away, so this is giving.
So I think so kind of building on why is solo casting not ideal? For many reasons. One of which is that you're by yourself, so you're having to cyberpack ads. You say, I mean, I can't even buy it from the stores, right? Is that too soon? Also, hello, Lafon. Long time no see. By that I mean, I literally talked to you before I went to bed in contenders chat, and now I'm saying hello to you after I wake up. So solo casting is not ideal for a couple of reasons. One of which is that you're by yourself and you have to carry the all of the energy on your own. So a lot of times, especially with another caster, you have time, you have a little bit of downtime to listen, right? You're going between talking and making a point and observing and being very active to still being active and watching the game, but then you have to, like, your brain is always on, right? So I think giving yourself time and pausing and allowing the cast to breathe so that you can breathe and you can figure out what you want to say is always going to be acceptable, especially in a solo cast. And making use of that time, that downtime, is actually something that you can leverage in terms of building, especially in something like attack shooter, building the tension of a match.
Two back out, but instead they're going for the Vanguard smokes. One pushing up from long and gets caught through the car, leaving the T side in the 3v5. Can they get it done? Getting the first onto Richie. Simics trading out Floud. And I think they're going to get a bomb plant here unless... No, the plant goes uncontested. I was thinking that Rax and CT Spawn could have gone for the jump peak to deny the plant, but they've decided against Simics getting a great catch on short, and that's brought it back to even numbers. The CT side.
So I think it's really good, Adraft, that you're keeping in mind, like, and you're keeping us up to date on where we are in terms of the match. Like, okay, now it's a 2v2. Hello, Beak. Good afternoon. One thing that I think, especially in attack shooter, is the thing that you need to leverage the most, and this goes for anybody, and I think what makes attack shooters so fun to watch is understanding and communicating where along the tug of war a match is at, where that momentum is going. And so this is something that I think is going to be like a pretty big, like, pillar of, like, when I write stuff down and have a little bit more maybe descriptions of concepts that are things I always going to return to. And actually on this topic, I do want to do more. I wonder if there's, like, sports casting courses or books that I can read up, because I feel like, especially, don't want to try to invent anything new, because I don't know, I'd never made it to be a pro caster. I just listen to a lot of people. But I think one thing to always keep in mind is, what is the pulse of the match? And you can think of it as pulse. You can think of it as the tug of war. Like, you have to picture two end posts, right? With a tag in the middle and the rope being pulled back and forth. And this extends not only to the match itself, but where is that flag and who's about to win. It's almost like predictions, right? You can think about like, oh, what's their percentage chance of going to win, and within a match, in a pistol round, you're going to start out 50-50, right? But then if a team is playing off an eco, then it probably 70-30, right? In terms of who's expected to win. And anytime the momentum changes of like something, let's say, I should have like a little graphic I can do. But if you're closer, if you're at the 30%, let's say team 1 is at 30% chance to win, and they get a pick, right? All of a sudden, that momentum shift should feel like something. You're like, oh, are they gonna do it? Like, oh, interesting, right? Like that should make you kind of lurch, right? As opposed to say if you're at the team that's 70% supposed to win, then and they get a pick, it's like goes to 75%, right? It's not that big of a deal because you're just like, okay, well, that was going to more secure the direction of that we already understand that the match was going to go. So I think in these kind of moments where you have, especially there's trades going around, we're switching perspectives obviously. So like the thing that can be communicated in your voice, if you can help the audience understand better where's the direction of the match going, then it just makes it easier for somebody to watch, which I think is going to be a major goal. Is how do you make the event and the action on the screen easier to watch and consume? I don't want to have to be thinking as hard as a caster as an audience member. So how can you make that easier for me to understand? So let's go back and I'm going to listen more for how you're trying to handle and communicate that pulse of the match, or that where along the tug of war we're supposed to be, where the match actually is at. Let's go back. Let's actually go back to the beginning of the round because you started off by saying that 9, the CT side was supposed to have a better buy this time, but Maestro is starting off, so we're at, will you communicated that? We're at like 55-45 in favor of Maestro.
Looks like the T side are going for a shorter push, and they're heard, but Izzy just cannot get the kill, getting a leg tag. But they could dunk them, doesn't though, and that utility is going to slow them down a little bit. And while Rax, he catches one through the smoke, retreating on short, and this.
See, that was good because it's you had kind of this expectation of what I heard was, this 9 or Izzy here, like just gets out, right? And then I did feel a little bit where you're basically saying Maestro is moving into position of power, or like where they're going to be, where they're moving into an advantageous position for them on the map. So that pick there is very important for the CT side too, right? So that kind of surprise that you felt is important to communicate, because he's getting that on the rotation, which Maestro was already making a pretty strong A hit, right? So that's a big deal. And so you communicated that, but I think understand why that was important. Why was that a moment that you needed to nice pick on that for CT? And maybe a comment you can follow up with, right? Like Maestro made a strong push towards A, but they were stalled out by the great utility and they get this pick. Can they continue to hold the point? It's just kind of like, that tug of war, you picture that as like, it's like it went vroom, right to where now 9 is in the, they went from being down 45, down 40%, now up to 60% chance to win. I agree 100%. Watchability to passive listener / viewer is incredibly important. Awesome. Yeah, I think I want to do a little bit more study. I don't want to just be making up stuff and trying to say that has any validity, but it makes sense in my brain.
The T side in a very difficult situation. They only have 2 smokes left, which I would ideally like to use to get a bomb plant and to secure a site. They don't want to use that to retreat from short, so they're stuck in a difficult position. Although the CT side have backed away, so this is giving them a window of opportunity to back.
So you have like really good game vision, and you can see the game really well, which lends me to believe that you probably play at a pretty high level, or you've studied a lot on the game. Right, like the things you're pointing out are actually really, really solid, like things that I would expect from a really solid color commentator in Counter-Strike, right? You're identifying utility and then like why that utility is important, right? They're running out of utility to get into the point. You'd love to have more smokes, but right now. They're really in a right. You're kind of you're lining up the story in a way to where Maestro, the expectation of Maestro getting to this point here for me is falling.
Instead, they're going for the Vanguard smokes. One pushing up from long and gets caught through the car, leaving the T side in a 3v5. Can they get it done? Getting the first onto Richie. Simics trading out Floud. And I think they're going to get a bomb plant here unless...
And these are tough too. You hear that there's a lot going on in your head, and I know all of us as casters have done this in the past, where you're trying to figure out what you think is happening while trying to also say something too. So we are hearing exactly what your brain is thinking in this moment as I play this.
No, the plant goes uncontested. I was thinking that Rax and CT spawn could have gone for the jump peak to deny the plant, but they've decided against Simics getting a great catch on short, and that's brought it back to even numbers. The CT side do have the damage advantage of 2 full health players against 2 low players. Getting the first onto Richie, but they know where he is. Ooh, peeks out. That's dangerous. Gonna go for the defuse. The angle is gonna be covered. And is he? Questioner has his back. And that is a 3rd round for 9.
Yeah, so the main thing I'm hearing here is that AJRF, in terms of like your strengths, I think your vision for the game or reading the game is at a, you know, I don't know what the right word to use here, is a strength. You know, reading the game. I know that's in the header, but I'm gonna add that. Reading the game is a strength. You pick on... Okay, I'm gonna actually type this while we keep listening, because I want to make sure I listen to more.
And that was very well played. They went aggressive in the right areas. They used their utility very well to stall them out, make them retreat while someone's watching from mid doors, getting the trade onto Stevo's, and he loses the op as a result of that. And it looks like... I don't know what's happened to the T-side's economy, actually, because they did win the round before this, but now Maddie is down to a Deagle. With that, an unarmored Deagle on top of that. Has a flash in the smoke, so he could do something with that, but he has to be careful not to die before he gets rid of that utility. Looking to do the mid smokes, maybe for another cat execute. Although you do have Maddie trying to throw a fake here with his Deagle. Throwing the flash down tunnels, it catches the attention of Questioner, who responds with a molly. And that means that the CT side, they've held on to all their flashes, but they don't have a smoke. They have 2 frags and a molly. So their ability to slow down, although it doesn't even matter. Cider getting a headshot through the T-side smoke, but Maddie responds with the one on the site and gets a second onto Questioner. But oh, that bomb is in a difficult position. They're gonna flash out. Oh, okay. AC does get the kill on Richie, first tagging him through doors and then just finishing it off and getting a snappy little headshot onto Maddie to finish that round off. There was a chance there for Master to get the bomb plant, but with that missed flash.
So I just wrote down a note here. I think something that AJRF does really well is commenting on utility in a sense that actually helps us set an expectation for what's going to happen. This is something that in every game is an element. What are the parts of the game that are parts of the game that can be leveraged by players so that they can have an advantage? What is the expectation of now that this extra information is there? How do you... what does that mean? In Overwatch, someone has a pulse bomb, right? You can say, Tracer has a pulse bomb, right? You can say, or you can say instead, Tracer having pulse bomb could deny the a transcendence or bait out a transcendence early, right? You're like, okay, okay, I'm gonna watch for that, and it might actually even help if your observers are hearing you in real time to be able to be like, hey, by the way, watch out for that Tracer and the pulse bomb. That kind of going back and forth is a synergy that can be developed, especially with these third-party productions or just like at-home productions where you're probably going to be in the same call. You might be getting the video over Parsec or whatever it happens to be. Or in Valorant, you have and CSGO, you have the observer follow feature now, which is super dope. But yeah, I think make sure that when you're, for everyone else, like as you're saying things that you think are important, if you carry out into that next step of why is this important right now? How should that affect my mental model of where we are in the tug of war? Right? That's important. And that's what I'm getting here is Giraffe is saying that when Maestro uses utility a lot early, and if they are not able to get advantages off of that or get into an advantageous position, then they're kind of stuck. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here, right? And it's something that I wouldn't have noticed, right? I'm not super watching for utility when I'm watching CS:GO. I'm more looking at the mini map, where's the macro positioning of the players. So
just no chance anymore. I mean, what are you gonna do? You've gotten rid of your one chance to blind the op that's stationed in CT that you know is stationed in CT and watching the bomb, and they get desperate, go for it regardless, and that is the result. 2 very nice kills from Izzy to finish that round. As we start round 10. Master, we're getting away with it, but two rounds unresponded by the CT side has brought them down to a pistol. A few upgraded pistols, 2 P250s and a Deagle, but otherwise it's all unarmored. They've got no utility. They're going in here to do damage and nothing more. If they get a bomb plant, that would be miraculous. The CT side is not getting super aggressive. They do know that these pistols can do damage. And Stevos is going to hear Flag repositioning on long. Sider's watching. Oh, they've heard it. Oh. Getting tagged, getting the kill. Izzy gets the second on short. And Flag getting the third. Oh, Izzy getting another fantastic headshot on short. Will he finish it off? Nope, it's going to be Cider. And that is a mop-up if I've seen it. Dealing a little more than 50 damage across the board.
So here's another thing that I hear some casters do too, and is something that I definitely did a lot back in the day, is when players are going for things like triple kills, quad kills, you know, team wipes, aces, and a player doesn't secure that, why should that ever be disappointing? Like if a team is winning the round, and this might be kind of, I don't know, I feel pretty strongly about this, but I think in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter as much. But I think every situation to where a team is winning should always be a like high point, right? I don't want to, I always feel, it always feels strange when, especially in League of Legends, this is super prevalent. You have somebody who's getting towards a quadra kill and their quadra kill gets stolen, right? And it is a little bit disappointing, but sometimes it feels like the energy drops so much where it almost sounds like somebody, like a team actually didn't win that fight. Where it's like, you know, they're going for the third. And also numbering the kills is I'm not a huge fan of too, because I think it's overused, but you know, it might sound like this, you know, so-and-so getting his first kill. He gets a lockdown on the second. He's going to capitalize on the third. Can he get the fourth? The fifth? No, he can't get the fifth. They steal the ace. You know, like, that makes you feel too sad. But that team just wins, you know? Why should that be a moment of like, oh, like they didn't let him get the kill, the other person stole it, right? Like a team just got bopped though. This, you know, team one just wiped the floor with them. So I think it should be much more of like as those things happen, the macro view of the game should still be that they won. So it should still be that, okay, well, I mean, that's unfortunate that they didn't let him get the kill, but at the same time, damn, now we're like, we're tied up 5-5. Interesting. Really, I think that's a good point. Thank you. So yeah, and I think it really comes back to this mental model of the tug of war, right? They've already crossed the line. Why should a team that, you know, the team that won feel anything other than like the success of that match? And I'm not saying that this is extremely egregious. I think it's something a lot of people do and is actually acceptable in the community to do. But at the end here, think of the payoff of this final kill. this team that nine was down, right? And from where we started watching, they actually won 3 rounds in a row, which is pretty crazy. So let's listen to how we wraps up that last fight.
To do damage and nothing more. If they get a bomb plant, that would be miraculous. The CT side is not getting super aggressive. They do know that these pistols can do damage. And Stevos is going to hear flag repositioning on long. Sider's watching. Oh, they've heard it. Oh. Getting tagged, getting the kill. Izzy gets...
Another thing to listen for too here is, I think, as casters, one thing to think of is there is a way that you communicate when you're watching with friends and watching as, like, in terms of what your brain is thinking. Oh, he heard him. Oh, you know, these little things. How do you translate that to something that's going to be elevated for a broadcast situation? So this kind of the little moment of, like, oh, he heard him. I think that'd be good, like, as a piggyback. So as in, like, when normally with a piggyback refers to when somebody is talking in commentary and the other person adds on a little point, like oh, he heard him, or he's like on the flank, right? Those are piggybacks. So I think those are good moments to help, like, they help clue it in and maybe enhance that moment. But in terms of the main line of thinking, something along the lines of, you know, yeah, like they're sneaking up A, but they've been caught out, they've been heard, right? Like saying it a little bit more in a declarative kind of way. So I think that's definitely something for a level up, is maybe this is where external studies can be really good. Maybe think through, or yeah, consider some of the sounds, comments you make. Which are ones you'd make as a viewer or watching with friends. How can these be more broadcast? How can these be elevated for broadcast? Let's say the instinct and information pick, and like what it's saying, it's signaling that you're picking up on the information, right? The instinct and info you're picking up on is good, but can it be changed slightly? For example, a statement of they've been heard instead of, oh, did they hear him? So I'll say timestamp 002701. All right, so back to the original point we're watching for, right? Is the end of the fight, kind of the tone of it.
It's the second on short. And Flood getting the third. Oh, is he getting another fantastic headshot on short? Will he finish it off? Nope, it's going to be Cider. And that is a mop-up if I've seen it. Dealing a little more than...
So it's I think it's easy to kind of fall into that, but imagine instead it's really this moment here, if we're watching it,
miraculous,
right? You kind of think about, again, we're thinking about this tug of war. Let me zoom forward a little bit, right? Okay, CT kill. Now it's oops, right? It's a freaking avalanche, man. Right? Just all of a sudden, it just at once, CT's got him locked down. Right? That should be like that went from 0 to 60 very quickly, or 60 to 0, or 5 to 0 very quickly, right? Like, holy moly, they get cleaned up, right? As opposed to what this is, what it comes off as, which is like, oh, unlucky that he didn't get that shot.
Loud getting the third. Oh, is he getting another fantastic headshot on short? Will he finish it off? Nope, it's going to be...
Yeah, and I think, maybe an alternative way you can look at that too is where It's one versus the world. He's in a tough position. Again, it's they have the 1% win percentage there. So that last kill isn't super surprising. It's just more about like the fact that they got cleaned up so quickly. Like that was pretty crazy.
Cider, and that is a mop up if I've seen it.
And I think that still fits into what are sounds and comments you would make as a viewer watching with friends, right? As somebody who's just reacting to it versus somebody who is in command of where that tug of war is at and is communicating that to me, as opposed to just reacting to what you're seeing.
50 damage across the board.
It takes a lot of discipline, though, like
ultimately
to stay in that state in mind, and especially as a solo caster.
Good anti-eco by 9. But now we're back up to a full buy.
Okay, so that actually, yeah, I didn't catch that was an eco, so that makes sense, right? So that shouldn't be too surprising, actually, that they get wiped like that.
And a bit of a lighter utility belt on the rest of them as well. Richie has gotten an important bit of information there. He now knows that Izzy is on long with the AWP, with a preemptive shot.
That's
being
really
taken,
good.
And as a response to that flash, they also know that there's at least one in lower tons. Master not being discreet about it so far, but ooh, Cider taking a good bit of damage from that frag grenade onto short, down to 62 without having.
And you can always think about like what is something that you can help make even easier, to watch, right? So what I really saw there, and when we go back,
Master not being with the
was the comment, right? So good comment on picking up the information about where the op is at.
Shot being taken, and as a response to that flash, they also know that there's at least one in lower tons. Master not being discreet about it so far, but ooh, Cider taking a good bit of damage from that.
Right, so that's a lot of times saying like, ooh, Cider taking a good bit of damage from that frag grenade. Maybe another way to say it here, we saw Cider on the screen having to move back, right? Like Cider punished for dishing out the utility and staying there. Hey, Chernock, how's it going, man? Long time no see. But yeah, if you can say like, hey, he's pushed out of like getting punished for using the utility and still, or just saying, you know, Cider taking damage from that nade now has to give up even more position, right? Like, what does that really mean for this, for that moment? Been ages. Agreed. Yeah, I haven't really streamed too long. I always talk about getting to a stream schedule, but you know, I feel better than ever to try to continue something, to do this every week, especially because we've been doing work on the tool. So, yeah, okay. I think this. I'm gonna move on here, but Adraf, I think these are the notes that I have. I'll make sure that they get to you. In summary, the vision for the game that you have, I think, is you are very proficient. This is definitely a strength. You're able to see what is going on in the game and understand what's going on. And now where the challenge is and how you level up is how do you actually match that insight you're seeing with communicating to the viewer through your vocal tone, your pitch, your all these elements of helping people along the journey for you, bringing them along the journey with you. How do you bring that all together? And I think so. Dynamic range is something I want you to, as you're doing external study, listen for the different levels that casters have, and try to think about how would you bring that kind of flavor. So I would say external study. Listen for casters' dynamic range, energy levels, pitch, casual versus serious or gravitas, right? These are all different things that are all parts of the tool belt that will help you communicate like what is actually important to that moment, and then how tense is that moment, right? How much can you make that really important? So listen for the caster's dynamic range to and think through how can you expand your dynamic range so you can really show, sorry, I'm off the bottom here, what is important. Okay, awesome. Thanks for sending that in. All right, I know we're a little behind, but I think we catch up because somebody's VOD is like like a hype video. Okay, so I think we have stage next. Since all I have is a promo video. Okay, right. I'll throw in a bonus VOD of my co-caster, and I'm running a full set to Perusto. Yeah. Let's do it. All right, stage. I think it's in here, right? I think it's just in the channel. Yeah. Hey, for sure. Yeah, I'll paste this text to you. Yeah, I think so the dynamic range is the next thing, but of course this is I think last positive thing I'll say is that it was good to hear you take time for yourself as a solo caster. Super important. And being comfortable with that, right? You seem pretty comfortable about that. All right, here we go. Okay, I was supposed to add the name. Stage VOD reviews. Oops. Alrighty. I'm getting hungry. Alright, so I saw the other VOD. Let's check this out. Stage, do we get your blurb somewhere? My main request is for feedback as if this serves as a reasonable replacement for a casting reel while I expand my portfolio and put on my big boy pants to make a reasonable edit. Hey, it's topical. What's good? Is that real topical in chat? What you been up to, man? Long time no see. It's all good. It's all good. Good to hear. Good to see you. We'll have to catch up. We'll love to hear what's going on in your neck of the woods. Hopefully the family is all safe and healthy. All right, let's check this out. Fancy.
Think of all that time. Every pub, every practice, every scrimmage, every Thursday. All those hours to get here.
Getting hyped.
Well fought by Pot of Greed. I think that's just a very unfortunate situation. Beaten by their own power supply.
Think of every bump in the road.
Gets fuels up from...
Oh, but the creeps just took it out.
That gives us game 2 in favor of Pot of Greed.
Every moment of doubt.
So much burst out of this Zeus.
Topical, I was thinking of the same thing. I was like, one man, one way, one desire.
She is called. That will be 2-1 in favor of WSS Cobalt.
What up, Taking Back TJ?
Every moment of ecstasy.
He finishes the engine. That GG, the grand
No, this is still good.
Go to WSS Cobalt.
Stage, is this all your voice in these clips?
Is it worth it? It's all led to this. It's a best of 5. For a chance to be the best.
Second voice of my co-caster.
After all the time you've put in, you are almost there.
Is that from Yu-Gi-Oh?
After all
Pot of
the
Greed?
nights you've worked, one more can make you legends.
Holy moly.
After all that time, this is
that
your
rendered?
time.
That looks really good. The final rematch. Damn. Cool. I mean, that's really freaking epic. So I think your question was, I don't know. I think the video is done well, right? Like, there's this, a lot of times when I caveat it like this, it sounds like it's a cop out, but I'm gonna say it anyways. Like, for what you're trying to do, for what this is supposed to do, I think y'all did a really good job on it. Like, I think it it got me hyped up legitimately. I have no idea what this event is. Let's see here, from creeps to creeps. Yeah, so I think in terms of a reel, one thing that I think people should be utilizing more is after your cast, go back through and make Twitch clips. And then you can use a site like medium.com to embed Twitch clips. So my first, let's see, hold on. Does this still work? Yeah, so I literally had my first reel. See, this is rough because Twitch just deleted all these clips. I'm big sad. But I downloaded them, I think, somewhere. Maybe I didn't. So this is actually so cringe, my headers here. So what I seriously recommend to people is that if you don't have a reel yet, don't wait. Like it's like you're letting the dishes pile up in your sink, which I'm really bad at. But regardless, it just gets harder the longer you wait to collect the clips. So collect the clips, go and clip them on Twitch. Or if you need to do them through YouTube, I can show you a way to do that. You can do that with OBS and do like the recording or like a replay buffer and then edit it down. But you can use medium.com to embed Twitch clips natively. So all you need to do, make the clip in Twitch. In fact, okay, I won't spend too much time on this because I want to look at your other VOD. But basically, you can make a Medium account. You can take the Twitch clips, throw them in here. They will automatically expand out and it'll have an embed here. So you don't have to wait for your edit. At that point, you are already deciding the order which you want your, like, the clips to be. You're getting the clips themselves, and you can download them too, which you absolutely should because apparently Twitch deleted these. So, yeah, don't wait on the reel. And I mean, this is fine to like share with people 100%. I think this gets a bit into, how do you create that, I was gonna say resume. I guess is the right word. Like how do you make sure that your resume shows the level of which you're able to perform at? And of course, the reel is the best way, right? If you can listen to somebody, a talent manager hearing you and seeing you on air, on camera, is going to be extremely important. So better than a resume, even though it is good to have that list as well. So yeah, make the clips as you go. If you're casting on Twitch, go back. You should be VOD reviewing anyways. Make clips of great moments, and you can cut them down to exactly what you want, and then throw them into a Medium post or some other similar site, and then just have them all here, right? You can direct people to it. I can certainly show everyone how to, like, basically it's really easy to, if you want to get your own site, you buy the website. So I bought mushypeef.com, right? And all it does is just redirects to this page. I don't have to do anything super fancy. So this is a really simple way to get going. And even then, you can just make a bit.ly, or you can just post this link in general in your pinned Twitter post. It's a very clever solution. I have to start working on that. Yeah, the more you like build it into your workflows and build it into your habits. VOD review, make notes, do external VOD review, and as you're VOD reviewing yourself, make clips of moments that were things that you were proud of. Trinok, even me. You're a pro, dude. So I'm happy if it's even you that's doing it. VOD review is a religion for me. I suck at going back and clipping my cast, yeah. All right, let's look at your blurb. I'm a Dota caster who has been working the amateur scene religiously. I'm trying to level up my casting to get to a point to where I can generate accessibility and viewability to viewers less familiar with Dota and approach broadcast ready. I feel like I need to work on my throws, my pacing to avoid being overwhelming. Okay, I think these are typical problems to have. All right, when we really get going here?
Trying to scout at the Volcel.
So stage.
Position 2, there's a little bit better ones. You got like.
I'll have to figure out how I can identify your voice.
Your Lena's.
It's the beginning of this reel convo. Are you saying we should start creating a reel as soon as possible? No. Making a reel is always this big roadblock for people, right? It's like I gotta cast it. Like it's a couple steps down the line. It's like, all right, I gotta cast. I gotta learn how to cast. I gotta put in my reps in. I guess I got a VOD review. All right, I need to try to cast for this community league, right? So I can get my reps in. And it's like, okay, cool. I'm getting better. I'm going to work on this. Like, oh, I should make a reel soon. All right, I got to work on this other stuff first. So I'm going to work on this and then do more casts. And then I'll go make a reel, right? And then people are kind of wait for like a cast they felt good about. And they're like, okay, I'm going to like write that link down and then go back to it later for my VOD review. For my reel. What I'm saying is instead is as you're VOD reviewing, which you should be doing, make clips of moments that you're proud of. And you can very easily instead just throw it into a page like Medium, which will have automatic embeds from the Twitch clip. You just throw in the Twitch clip, it'll expand into a nice window like this. This serves like 90% of what a reel does, which is to show you on air and show you know how's your eye contact with the camera, what is your presence on camera, and what do you sound like, how, you know, through these different plays, right? And you can, and it's even better maybe even oh, okay, I see what's happening here. So it's linking in another article that I wrote where I was also embedding Twitch clips. So that's why these headers are kind of cringe, because I was talking about DSPS stanky. So yeah, throw them in here in a page like this, and they'll auto expand. And then when you are ready to make a reel, you judge that based on, you know what, I got like 10 really solid clips I'm happy about, and I already know the order I want them to be in. So this is so easy to edit on your own, but you can also, if I was a video editor and you gave me this, I could have that done in half an hour, right? If it's just like, this is the music I want, this is the order I want it in, make sure the audio levels are good, as opposed to it being like where a lot of people are like, all right, go to this YouTube VOD and now cut from 21 minutes to 22 and find something good in there, right? It's like you're already designing your reel as you go, and then you can replace it and edit it as you go, which is I want more people to do this. Let's see here. Mine is slightly louder, higher quality mic, and I'm using my nasal register a bit more. Oh, all right, okay. I don't know why I like the word nasal register.
Ranged heroes that can very easily hit the egg.
Now, I don't expect we're going to be seeing a Morphling in the Archon bracket, but I'm not going to put it past either. Like I said, the mid laner for the Harpies is a stand-in, Platinum. So I do know that he has a very, very diverse hero pool. I feel like I'm talking about the Harpies a lot, not the Volcel Collective, but the thing about it is trying to scout these teams, trying to scout at the Volcel Collective, all of them play everything. It's really hard to find even a single player who has a locked-in lane.
Do you have a pop filter? Right. So pop filters is something that was recently struggling with too. I don't know how loud that's coming in over the screen, but yeah, I can hear the plosives a little bit. It's not egregious, but make sure there's some distance between your pop filter and your microphone. Let me know what kind of mic you have too. I mean, this is, again, very, very small detail. I just upgraded my mic. I think I was dialing my settings in, but I don't have a pop filter on the SM7B. Yeah, I think this is fine. I think experiment with how you're talking into it. We're talking into it versus like talking over the top of it. So say, for example, this is your SM7B, and if I have this super close, right, or even I'll take off the pop filter, right, you can still get a really good, it's actually going to be a lot louder now. You can still get a really good sound, like I'm talking across the top of the, that was actually pretty bad. So say I was like talking across the top of the microphone. The reason why you heard that was because the breath path went into the mic directly. Plus is something you can work on eliminating the way you can say your, plus is something you can work on eliminating the way you say your P's. All right, I actually didn't know that. I have to look into that. But yeah, you can experiment with, like, as you're doing this, I can hear it's a little bit percussive still. So talking across the top of the microphone might be something you can try out. Actually, I think Trinek might have that might be something that you're pretty well versed in. But like for me, this is a cardioid microphone. So sometimes what I'll do is, since I have it below me to be a bit out of the way, I turn it so the mic is a bit off axis, and I'm not talking directly into it. I have it positioned so that I can like kind of talk across the top of it. And so ideally you still hear me pretty well, especially because of the proximity. But the plosives hopefully are not as bad. Yeah, 2 teeth removed. I'm still relearning how to talk. Wow. Well, there you go. Again, this is only like because your microphone is so dialed and it sounds really good. This is just like how I like to put it is like, how do you level up always, right? It's nothing against like, this is definitely not like a really bad situation. It's all in your oral posture and how you say words. Well, I'm gonna have to do some reading. I know about placement. I think placement is a really kind of a mind-blowing concept for me as working on vocals for singing. Right. Okay, S's are harder and more lispy. Pluses are hard syllables.
Maybe they will honor
like
their own mystery by picking Enigma.
Oh, you know, and when you've already got the Snapfire and the Phoenix, that feels like some serious wombo combo action.
Yeah, that would be a pretty disgusting team fight. Not too much that could cancel it right now. You have Clockwork, but there's room for more to be picked.
Right, I feel like Enigma into Clockwork is a very bold move. But if you know that you're going to catch the Clockwork and you keep him far enough away for the battery assault to not touch you, then it's still definitely playable. So you wait for a counter initiation on the Enigma.
Yeah, for sure. And wow,
what I really like about what you're doing so far is you have like I love the energy that you have right now. It's really bright. It makes me wake up more, which is something I need right now, other than this coffee that I have. So you're gonna start off with a baseline of being pretty engaging. Now I'm curious to see how over time is that your caster voice? And when I say caster voice, I mean, I call any caster voice something that sounds a little bit inauthentic and is used repeatedly all the time. So you have people that say like, "Hello and welcome to this broadcast. Today we're going to be talking about, or we're going to see Team 1 versus Team 2." And then later on in the fight, you'll be like, "Oh, and Team 1 will win the team fight." Try to say your P's, but move your back lip. Your back lip? Which one's my back lip? The bottom lip? More back in your jaw position, and then say them with your jaw more forward. Peas. Plosses. Pop. I'm kind of, it almost feels like it's like going upwards more. Move your back lip more. Okay, sorry, VOD review.
Well, yeah. Position 1 carries, maiden included.
Oh yeah, we definitely know that for Volcel Collective and everything, they're afraid of heroes that can hit the egg very well. And Crystal Maiden, once you get to the point of having the 200 attack speed talent, is very good at that. It just takes a couple 20 levels to get there.
All right, let's get into the fights. I really do like your tone and the brightness. Like your personality is coming through quite a bit in this, in these moments, right? And one thing I think you do really well is this kind of walking the line between casual and inviting. Casual in a welcoming way, that you're inviting people to join you on this kind of walk where you're just so excited to point out all the stuff that's happening, right? I feel like I'm getting a tour, right? Like, oh, and that was George Washington's house when he was growing up earlier, and then that's exactly where he had the tree, but of course it's grown over because it's been 100 years. Right, like that kind of like, okay, well, like the infectious energy I think is really great from you here. So let's see how that translates over into when we have some team fights and whatnot.
I think that their axe is gonna get ahead. That's my
Drinic,
guess.
I really do want to do more reading on that. So if you send me just like words to Google, or if you have any articles, I definitely want to read more about that. So that'd be dope.
Oh, God.
I think this axe is going to get a little bit ahead and just start running around the map and making things happen. And if that is not the scenario, well, I don't know about
go ahead and throw it into
do you feel like
casting
Axe is good
discussion maybe.
against Sven? I feel like it's kind of a 50-50 matchup given the ability to cleave and make last hitting easier.
Thanks,
Axe
man.
is pretty good against Sven, but not so good against Lich. So it's kind of a, what is it, Snapfire? No, it is Snapfire mid, it looks like, yeah.
Yeah, so that's going to be Phoenix going to the offlane.
Phoenix, Axe lane. not the most powerful axe lane, but you can make things happen with it.
Definitely an option.
So I don't normally watch Dota, by the way. So I'll caveat it.
I think it really will just come down to execution and how many mistakes are made by the Harpies. I think that Volcel will definitely be able to punish it hard, and if Memer manages to find any mistakes, find the openings, then it will turn into a quickly snowball lane, but it's going to be very dependent on how this safe lane plays out. Bit of a split CC there, trying to move onto the Phoenix. US East Refugee starting the Fire Spirits up, looking for a lot of damage onto Kitty. Kitty getting low, down below half health, 200 health remaining, tries to cut through to the outpost. Memer still running right after, has the Battle Hunger as well. This should be a first blood.
Yeah, that early Winley's pickup. Oh, Stormhammer? I think it saved the day.
Yeah, the regen is going through. The Lich is going to survive, but be very low on health. Has to pop that salve. And pretty solid advantage so far in the bottom lane for
so I think this is Stage talking now.
Collective.
Now this is Cocaster.
Yeah, it's a bit scary. You don't want to give an Axe really any leverage in a lane, or else he can just kind of run off with it. But now they're going to be ahead in regen on the Dire side, so they'll have to just play it a little bit careful. Radiant.
A little bit of trade in the offlane. T trying to block out the camp so that there's no play for it, but commits the battery assault and going to whiff that out. So the minor things right now in lane are really what we're going to be looking at, and just the exchanges that play out that way.
I just want to draw attention to the quote-unquote sponsors for Volcel. They got Target, they got Costco, they got 7-Eleven, and then they have Kraken Spiced Rum.
You know, I could definitely give the support to the Kraken Spiced Rum. I could go for one of those after last week.
Mid lane's looking pretty close, pretty even. CS-wise, you got the Platinum a little bit ahead on that Death Prophet, but I think just damage-wise, the Mr. Big Memes there is,
that's pretty
going
funny
ahead on that Snapfire.
Big Memes gets the play out, actually. Might get the Scatter Blast to finish it off. Not quite enough. Both these two are so incredibly low. Fairy Fire popped for Big fucking Memes. But that's not going to be worth a kill just yet. Possibly a play.
I just realized that was his
has
name.
The slow from Platinum. One more shot, and there's first blood in the mid lane.
Just the right amount of mana to do it.
Possibly a play in the bottom lane as well. Kitty so low on health, going in hard on Memer, but Kitty now super low on health under the tower, has a little bit of regen, but it's not going to be enough, I don't think. Will the health go down fast enough? 20 health and ticking up, but the Battle Hunger is over, and Kitty will be able to salve up. Memer, meanwhile, running a Clarity just to get himself back into fighting condition and going right back in Sven's face.
High action lanes.
All right, so here's what I'm hearing right now is that you enter at first off, I want to say, like, I think the sound of I want to call them the payoffs, but essentially when kills happen or when eliminations happen, I think that sounds pretty good. Like I'm feeling hype when as those kills are happening, as we're watching this moment, like, oh, are they gonna catch him? I think in the same way that I was talking about dynamic range last time with A Giraffe, I think this is something that dynamic range is gonna be another area for you to explore too, because I think you have, what I'm hearing right now is these two modes. One is which is like the more casual and playful and informing and infectious energy mode that you have, and then one is like you're hyped up. You still have a lot of that same kind of energy, the infectious energy, and you're doing this play-by-play that is, it pretty much starts from a 7 up to an 8.5 to a 9, right? So I think what you'll hear in some of like some of the best play-by-plays is they'll really match, talk about that tug of war from earlier, that they'll match that tug of war at very discrete intervals, right? So that early poking action, when you're getting to a 7 in terms of your energy level, like a 7 out of 10, it probably should correspond to like, okay, something's pretty much going to happen, right? Or the expectation is there. So it's hard to kind of, so I would say the one area that for you to level up here, because you definitely have that upper end of the energy, is communicating the actual expectation of that fight is going to be really important. So is there actually a possibility, is there actually a more than 50% chance, or I don't want to bring it to words here, do you actually expect a kill to happen in that moment? And if so, then yeah, by all means, like, then chase that energy level to see, you know, all the way through. I think you're mirroring it really well, but I think you're also maybe putting in some artificial energy, or just energy into moments where it sounds like there's going to be a kill when there might actually not be, right? And this is where I think the caster voice can bite you in the butt, is because you're very comfortable in this, which is awesome. And I want you to be comfortable at when things are happening on the screen that may look really exciting, but probably won't pan out. And this is where I think A-Draft's, the vision for the game is super important, right? If you were able to look at this and be able to say, okay, this is actually a moment where there might be a kill that happens, or something consequential. It doesn't have to be a kill. Is there something consequential about to happen? If not, then save that, right? You temper it. And it's not even that you're holding back. It's more that you're much more closely aligning to the pulse of the match. And I think the pulse is the better word for the situation, is that if you have a pulse on the match and you're always communicating that pulse, then you'll be in a much better place of people following along. Otherwise, that same energy will be the same for people trading in lane versus a giant team fight. I have a hard time tailing off the sine wave of energy when the prospect falls off. And I think one way to think about it is that you are not lowering your energy per se. It is more about reflecting the actual energy. So let's listen a bit more, because yeah, let's see.
I felt like it was going to be a little bit more of like kind of a, I don't want to say intellectual match in the bottom lane, but like kind of a call and response, and instead we're just getting a lot of battle hunger and diving in hard.
Well, there can't be a call and response because Berserker's call isn't skilled.
Ah, come on, Russ.
Oh, no, now it is. Here we go.
All right, here we go. This could be the call. Will we see a response out of it? Nah, he's just playing nice and safe.
No, yeah. I think on an Axe lane, you have to be aggressive, have to try and make things happen. That's just how the hero works. You're just incredibly strong early, and you do kind of fall off later, but oh, here's a call. Big call.
Definitely. They do have Stormhammer. He's war crying away instead. Pops the stick. Gets out with the Frost Shield. The Phoenix is extremely low. Kitty moving in, looking for the kill. One more auto attack. Will it be enough? Finds the kill, and down goes Phoenix for second kill on the side of WSS Harpies, uncontested.
Whew, that's fantastic.
I think it's pretty appropriate there. I think, again, you start off on a really high baseline. Your floor of the energy, and as soon as the team fight's happening, is pretty high.
They're giving the Underlord a lot of farm. He's actually leading the game in CS, but not a whole lot to shut down. But see, like this is totally acceptable and fine, and this is really solid for like a lower energy, quote unquote, right? Because it's distinct from your play in a team fight. Is that you're still very engaged in it. And this is the thing that a lot of people struggle with, is that they're like, oh, I need to increase my damage range, I need my tone, or I need my energy to go way lower. And when they do that, it actually sounds like they don't care, right? That's actually a lot more common when people try to adjust for this. So I think your more casual / lower energy range is still engaging, which is really good, right? So make sure to keep that and recognize that is what's happening, is that you are letting the cast breathe still. You may be still talking, like your pace of talking is probably higher than average of a caster, but it still feels more restful, right? Like I can breathe and follow along with what you're thinking and saying. Oh, best on the Dire team.
Yeah, your rhythm's really good, and I think in the team fights too.
Overall, the Spectre is, for the farm that it has, is pretty happy with this. Mm-hmm. Not really getting harassed out of lane too much, just kind of casually farming under tower.
Do you think that there's going to be much opportunity with the heroes that we've picked on the WSS Harpies to make a rotation to try and pressure the Spectre, or that until level 4, 5, maybe 6, Spectre is just going to be able to kind of farm back and forth?
Do you do YouTube videos? I think you would do really well. I think you very naturally have a host-like energy to you, to where I think it can yeah, like I think if you did little mini recaps on these plays, or basically like little mini videos to get people to know who you are, and things that can go onto Reddit, things that can go onto, you know, hopefully hit the YouTube algorithm, and for you to share on Twitter. I think it's something that you should definitely do. I was actually rejected for a host role for sounding too artificial. Yeah, I think we'll have to do a discussion sometimes. So what was interesting was Topical, who was in here. He's also a talent manager at Nerd Gamers, formerly. He left that role and is now in the real world. Talent management is an interesting area. It has, especially in esports. I'll leave it at that. But basically, I think it comes down to these things that we're trying to point out, right? At the end of the day, it needs to be relatable. But I think you're doing a really solid job here in terms of that energy. Anyways,
off the wave once in a while by Firestorm.
I think it's the latter. I think Spectre's just going to kind of casually farm up, even with the rotation. With say,
you fall back on quite a bit. It's a minor thing. If you can work on eliminating that as a crutch, it would add so much polish. Yes, I think it was a bad cast for me in regards to that. I offer the advice to other people, often from my experience in Toastmasters. Yeah, I can definitely tell your vocal tonality, your brightness of your energy probably was something that you worked on. So I think that is something that you can let lead, and I think it's about fine-tuning it so that it's truly like people can understand and accept that it's authentically you.
The Lich Kitty goes over.
Let's watch for a couple more minutes.
You'd have a Clockwork Underlord Lich, which could potentially get a kill on the Spectre, but Wyvern providing a little bit of slow. The Spectral Dagger, I think it would just be too hard to catch it.
Another play in the bottom lane. Battle Hunger out. Pandemonium wants to go in. They catch Sinister Gaze on the Phoenix. Now the Flame Spirit's being committed. Catching out onto Sven. Stormhammer finds 2, but he is Battle Hungered up and dropping health rapidly. He needs to get under tower, needs to regen, needs to find a kill, and he will do so to cleanse the Battle Hunger.
See how long you kind of held on to that higher energy? So you jump in and it's a higher baseline already.
Which could potentially get a kill on the Spectre.
So and then as they separated from the fight already, and I don't know the correct answer for this, especially because it's Dota. At what point is that person still at risk? So what I'm seeing is, and it makes me think I want to do like graphs in the future. But basically, like the team fight kind of peaks and then it kind of tails off. But your energy, as it peaks and tails off, your energy is still like kind of up here and then it falls later, right? So let's listen to that again.
But Wyvern providing a little bit of slow. The Spectral Dagger, I think it would just be too hard to catch it.
Another play in the bottom lane. Battle Hunger out. Pandemonium wants to go in. They catch Sinister Gaze on the Phoenix. Now the Flame Spirit's being committed. Catching out onto Sven. Stormhammer finds 2, but he is Battle Hungered up and dropping health.
So at this point, my read on this is the team fight's over. Right, let's listen to your tone as we continue.
Rapidly, he needs to get under tower, needs to regen, needs to find a kill, and he will do so to cleanse.
She's saying if Pandemonium hadn't scored a last hit on a creep, the damage over time would have killed him. Oh, wow, okay.
It's the Battle Hunger.
So yeah, it looks like dots, damage over times in Dota is actually a really huge factor, huh? Because I noticed this a little bit earlier when you were talking about like that person might burn, but they were off screen, so it was a little confusing.
Keeping Sven very low.
Yeah, so that might be something that would be cool for external study, right? Like of the pros, how do they handle those moments? I think, listen, this is what I would push you to do for the level up. I know I haven't typed out too much. For your level up, I would recommend listen to some pros that you look up to in terms of the casting and play-by-play. And just kind of mentally think about, or even, sometimes I'll do this, like, or especially on broadcast, and it's actually kind of, when I'm doing these VOD reviews, it helps me think through it and maybe visually show people on stream what I'm hearing. But just think about where their level of energy is at, right? Where are you feeling where they're at as the team fight goes on, right? To kind of gut check, how are other people doing it? You'll find I push people a lot to do external study because I think it's so important to not only look at your own work, but when you contrast it with something that is someone that's better than you, then those things become a lot more obvious. But otherwise, if you're only looking at your stuff, you're going to refine only what is within your current tool set when you might need to, in fact, expand your tool set. So, Yeah, I would say that the in terms of your question, external content is so important. Because if you think about it, like as we're going to the future of esports, right? There's just going to be even more leagues. There's going to be even more people playing, even more people commentating and whatnot. So what a good commentator needs to be able to do is always make content that people want to listen to. And in the past, it was more about getting the gig. And once you got to the stage to where you're casting, you're set. You're already doing the content. But now, because there's so many leagues and maybe people don't know about certain leagues or others, that they need to hear about you from other means. And I think your energy is something that would do really well in a bunch of different formats, recaps, podcasts, YouTube. So it's really tough. This is something I'm really struggling with right now, is even doing the stream schedule. I like a ton of things. And so I've been kind of thinking about how do I want to do content that can help some people and do that consistently. All right, got to get in now. What we got to get in now is what Moosh is saying. Yeah, exactly. And it's I think don't feel like you're on a timer, but it's still like you need to build up that. It's something that needs to happen over time. That makes a lot of sense. I appreciate your time for this, by the way. It gives me a lot to chew on. Yeah, for sure. I think you're at a really great place. Be in tune with the community, figure out what they like to watch. I always hate, like, Reddit's a double-edged sword, right? I actually don't spend a ton of time on Reddit anymore. But if you are in a community that is something that can be like a positive one / constructive one, and you're making stuff that people like, in general, people will upvote and appreciate things that they like. So if you can make things that people like, then that's good. Though it is a little bit dangerous maybe to aim specifically at being like, all right, we're going to craft and engineer the perfect Reddit content, right? It can be taken a bit too far too. Sad part is Dota is very much sunsetting. It's a nasty place to cut my teeth. Yeah, it's esports is a rough place, man, for sure. So let me finish up these notes here. Then I can send them to you too. So infectious energy, I think this is definitely a strength for you. I feel very engaged in even the casual discussion moments between the team fights. Keep this up. And I think level up by external study of how others handle energy during a team fight. To expand to show the many ways a team fight can be handled and how they're managing energy to stay engaging. So I'll say this, maybe preceding that is communicate the authentic pulse of the moment. How close is someone to dying? How important is this team fight? Because otherwise, yeah, if you're always hype, you definitely know this. Hype, then nothing is important. Cool. I know it's not a ton of notes, but I know we talked about a bunch of things and talked in Twitch chat. So awesome. Thanks for submitting that. Hopefully that's helpful. All right. Very behind now, but I think it's worth. I think this always happens. I don't know how to say this name. Keglunik. Any Kegluniks in chat? Keglunik. The number of times Moosh and Chris had to tell me to be less hype and prioritize in my time learning to be a better caster was too damn high. Not that I'm still learning. Not that I'm not still learning. Exactly. Yeah, external study is important. I wish I pushed that more, actually. I think there's a lot to be learned from from others.
Oh, but not able to find.
Do. Oh, I was showing this article, by the way. Let me drag this here. This is an article that has done way too well. My dumb face. I just have 4 very simple questions, but I was talking to someone yesterday about how being a good coach or being able to teach yourself along the process is extremely difficult. And it's something that has to be practiced. So yeah, if you want this is this article. This is actually what I used to do, and Chernock can attest to it. It's what every time we had a weekly meeting, we walk through these questions. What went well? What do you have to fix along the way? What needs improvement? Ideas for next time. Just a pretty solid way to go about it. VOD review with an intention, cast with an intention, and you'll be good. Forehead. All right. Let's look at Keglunik. All right, what is this blurb here? I'd love to hear feedback on this cast. I've been developing a unique style of casting that is more digestible for the audience while maintaining entertainment, knowledge, and flow needed for casting. But I'd love to know if this works or how to refine it. Tell a story with intention. Big agree, dude. Might grab a little energy drink in a second. I'm gonna do that now, actually. Share stream. Kid gives the very thick, heavy voice in these casts. Chernock, what do you I need to check out your stuff. Let me see what you're doing. I love when my homies give me timestamps and URLs.
These two, so I'm always excited when I get up.
This is great. I always like this because then I can like see them and see their name, and instead of having to wait and hope that they introduce themselves.
Man, Max.
Mostly just South Africa things right
You know
now.
what else is beautiful, Connor? We
Just
had
local
two
ZA
teams tonight
things.
that are really duking it out, and these placements matter for them. But also some PCs matter too. Not all of them were able to survive for the play day today. We do have a sub coming in on Visionary's side. It's gonna be I guess your kind of usual sub that you're expecting to see. But before we get into that, let's look at the maps down below. We get to see all the banned ones, and we're gonna be going to Cafe and what is it, Oregon?
Yes, that is
That's
Oregon.
Oregon. I need glasses.
The sigh of eternal pain as Cafe, Villa, Oregon, Club. Those are the only maps we get to see. We're going to see 2 out of the 4 horsemen of Caster's Bane in Tier 3 Siege.
Yeah.
Overall, I do like
Show us
Oregon.
Coastline. I want to see Coastline.
Map ban overlays for Siege are so
I want to see a
clean.
Coastline consulate game or like
I
Coast
don't.
theme.
No.
Coastline and then
Really
theme, like it.
It's
I
pretty
love
slick.
Consulate because
I
it's never
hate
played.
Rainbow Six
I
looks
love
like a super fun
Consulate.
game.
It's terrible. It's a terrible
I-
map.
I only just saw yesterday there was a play that was happening on I was watching. There's some qualifiers on their like YouTube, and I'm sure it was on Twitch as well, where guy like was on the outside of a building, put up a zip line, was hanging upside down shooting into a window. I was like, holy moly, this game.
It's the
Theme is
only
better.
map. It is the only map
map
as an
is better.
attacker. No. Oh. Are we gonna have to 1v1 Keg? Are we gonna have to 1v1 on stream?
I'm down to 1v1. Okay.
Not on
So
Outback.
Trini, I'd be curious for what your thoughts are on this. I think
No, Consulate is-
position of his microphone. A lot of people do this because they don't want it to pop too much. But I think the main thing you're trying to look for is to where the microphone is just out of the breath path, right? So I think, Keglunik, I think if you're bringing it in close to you, but what you can do, and I don't know if there's standard practice on this, but having it above or below your mouth, I would say a little. You can have it a bit below. I feel CDAPS is talking over him a lot because Keg is soft and too far from his mic for sure. Yeah, there's definitely a presence lost in that. And it's volume between the presence of it, it's like the guys on the other side of the room, right? And you're like, I can kind of hear him. So I'm just gonna keep going.
It's the worst map in the map pool.
It's the only map as an attacker that you don't have to enter the building to win, and I like that.
That's true.
That's true.
Well, let's stay on track. We got stat page. I'm sure Firmate's punching the air right now, but so is Team Visionary because they are mourning the loss of their player Tricky. Unfortunately for him, he did have a couple of computer issues, and we will have Asian there
headset that is
subbing in. He has some decent sized shoes to click and fill. Well, I'm sorry, I just read head clicker as the role on Martyr and just completely crossed over my words. But overall, on the Visionary side, there, you know, they had near the back end of the season a little bit of a loss streak, and it's kind of continued through. They finally have broken it, however. The most recent map that they played, they won, and it was Oregon. That is their map choice once again here. And it's going to be up to Abadu, Badger, Panic, Martyr, and not Tricky, it will be Asian, to see if that sort of cold stint will come back, or if they finally stamped it out for good.
You know, I really did like that metaphor about the clicking of the heels, because they might need to go back to the yellow brick road for this one if they want to be able to stay in their positioning right now in the standings.
Logic Pro, I'm not sure. The G Pro mic is a blue Yeti, and it can definitely be close to your mouth.
Through the qualifiers, but then Tricky came back and
blue. Got it.
Made his way through the season, but also look to your left.
You imagine a blue Yeti on the end of your the boom arm.
More red than green kind of light that we're seeing on the seasonal history. You know, we love Christmas colors around here, but this is a little too red for my liking. Hopefully, though, tonight can end with another green W, because they're on a streak right now of getting 2 in a row, but we've also seen 4 in a row losses right before that.
Yeah, now we transitioned over to Emergence, and there's somebody on the roster that we know as Goria. His role, he doesn't have a role. His role is just MVP. He's just the one that clicks everybody. A 1.4 rating.
Hey, Jake,
with 200 kills.
Road NT1A, yes.
He nearly has twice as many kills as the rest of his team. As anybody on his team.
Goria is a monster.
Snowball's honestly fine. People like to. There are better options out there now, but people like to say it's bad, but it's mostly because their positioning of it. All right, let's move forward into the match. I mean, I think this is important too.
And we've seen so
listen to a bit more.
Players in the last few years go through that same
We're running behind JK, of course.
They are too young to go into the Pro League or even Challenger League, so they just hone their skills, whether it be streaming, whether it be in T3 leagues. And then once they turn 18, usually sometimes they're signed on even before they hit that marker, and they're already like a bowl through a martyr thing. They're able to just push on through and really show everyone what's up. You know, Iconic, Bolo, so many other names. Goria could very well fill in the shoes of those roles at some point.
Yeah, they are massive shoes. Like
so I think there's a little bit of the what I've talked about before of the caster voice, and when I say this, I mean that there is a tone that may not be the most authentic. And I think the reason why I'm clued into why I feel that way is because of the main challenge, which is that me as a viewer, as I'm listening, if I get lost a little bit, or if I like blank out, or if I'm listening to something, or if something else gets my attention, I'm reading, and I can't, and it's said in whatever is being said in that content being said is said in a way where there's only the content itself that would give me the info I need, then it's hard to follow along. So what I like to say is, what is the opposite of, I think there's a lot of places that are optimal instead of having caster voice, but I think one here is going to be and what I'll say, Keglunik, for you to think about is how do you be easier to listen to. And it's something you even pointed out in your blurb, where you're saying you want to make it more digestible for the audience while maintaining entertainment. That's exactly where I think is the right place for you to focus on. And there are some, I would say my favorite examples of this, honestly, it kind of went back to, I think Monty and Doa were extremely good, easy listening casters. I haven't really watched too much Rainbow Six in terms of, or like, I should say this, I've watched a bunch of it, but I haven't necessarily noted the casters, so I don't know if there's people I would point to in that scene. Let's see here. I don't think I've ever heard Keg use a different tone of voice than that. I don't know him for 3-ish years. Yeah. I mostly play when I cast Siege. My co-caster has the big brain analysis. Also listen to Kix and Parker. Kix, more often than not, is talking about the setups and the strats. Both they do. Okay. I think R6 does less primary role designation. Is that true? Yeah, so I think the thing to watch here, and this is where especially where the external study is going to help, is listening to how people make their points. How easy is it? The very simple example I can think of is when I was really working on color commentary or even just trying to get a point across, even just the simple thing of making it very clear, or I'll say it this way, there's a way to speak to where it almost does the text formatting in your brain. So if I were to say this, so for this upcoming recipe, you're gonna need flour, water, eggs, or I'll even say it slower. Flour, water, eggs, a piece of toast, and this, right? You can kind of say it just kind of as a sentence. Or I can say instead, for this, you're gonna need water, flour, you might need a pan, and toast would be good too. So what I'm trying to do there is, I didn't say the same list, but I'm trying to speak in a way where you're like imagining a bullet point list. That is kind of what I mean by easy listening. How can you say things in a way to where you're not only saying the stuff that they need to understand, but you're saying it in a way where it's just painfully obvious what is happening, right? And you're trying to put that mental image of a list in. And instead of, again, it goes from the monotone to where I'm saying a list, but if you're saying list, it sounds like this, right? It's not just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you're good. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right? It's like there is almost this inflection to where I'm at the beginning of it. It might all sound the same. They're like in the middle of it, I'm kind of peaking, and then I'm kind of going down a bit, and the final point is like a downward inflection. So I think there's a bunch of, and this is where I want to do a bit more external study myself of in terms of sportscasting or even just broadcast best practices. There's probably ways where they say there's certain tones of voice or ways to phrase things to where it's really obvious. So that's what I'm going to be watching out for, and maybe I want to give a very specific suggestion of something that actually happens in Rainbow Six that can use that, because I anticipate that's going to be some of the challenge we hear.
Impact felt on the community from those players.
How's the level of the stream, by the way?
Handle in some sort of comparison
versus my voice.
Gigantic compliment that I'm sure Goria is gonna love. But if we look at the standings here, you can see how impactful this game is. Both of these teams, they're outside the door. They are the SpongeBob meme where Squidward's up inside of his house watching the other top 6 rosters run around because they're in the playoffs. Emergence, they're a little bit closer. They're right on the heels of the Dallas Vendetta, formerly known as First Attempt. They don't necessarily control their own destiny like the teams in the top 6 do. Emergence does have to win this out, as well as have a couple of other things fall into place, such as mainly Dallas Vendetta falling to Phantom Legion and maybe a couple other games as it continues. And that's not the best position to be in. But with that being said, they can take a really great step in the right direction, as well as really pushing Visionary down so there's not as many people behind them putting pressure underneath them, because overall
after a long pre-show,
after the 8th seed,
holy moly,
9 through 12, they're kind of lacking in the points department. It's not really as close
like
of a race
minutes.
as we would like
maybe
to
20
see.
minutes.
But overall, having 3 teams in contention for that final coveted 6th seed is looking and shaping up to be pretty fun to watch.
All right, I'm going to zoom on forward.
I'm in Goria's mind, and I know that I'm in a good place.
I like the way you think, Connor. I like the way you think. But we do have the ace coming out here at first. We do have a bit of a roam presence upstairs. In fact, it's going to be 3 of them. That's over the majority of the team, already waiting to see who's going to drop down first. If Goria drops and clicks some heads, well, that is going to be a really failed roam, or at least a defense coming out from, well, yeah, already Son of Finn, now Goria's going to be taking down Panic, and your Jaeger's already gone. There's going to be 2 left upstairs still, Connor, and with already Cigar presence well under control of Emergence's side, that's going to be number 2 gone. Already Ben and Finn able to take down 2 of the 3 of them, and Connor, this is already looking very scary for them.
Yeah, the time management is looking really great on the side of Emergence, so much so that they're already burning away utility, and the final remaining member, Badger, is just hovering over the hatch, waiting to drop as soon as he feels a little bit of pressure.
That's Ubisoft.
Because those ADSs no longer catch 3 grenades, they only catch 1 apiece, then go into a slumber. Badger swinging, and he's not hitting his whiffs back and forth as his head gets separated from Goria. A wonderful shot coming out of the LMG as another kill for Ben riddles the kill feed blue. Now it's a 1v5 situation for Jimmy Buckets. He's got to try to put the team on his back, and it's going to be a lot easier said than done. He's got a Nitro, and he's got an SMG-11, but the site execute is coming through. A frag grenade as he's blind. He gets the Nitro cell kill, but it might be wholly impactless.
Basically
as
hybrid,
we already see, Evil Clouds is inside a site and trying to tap away on the diffuser, trying to get coverage, but it's going to be the swing and the hit coming out of the AK-12 wielding Norwegian in Emergence off of the back of a very, very strong
CGS to see his Moss files.
We'll take round 1.
So we
show me your moss, bro.
At the beginning of this round, whether or not this would be a very typical roam clear coming out from Emergence's side, whether they'd go from up top all the way down and just kind of level out the entire process, and that's what they ended up doing. But in the past, we've seen Emergence go horizontally, straight from the second floor, or even down from the bottom and going up. But no matter what, it seems like it was predicted to happen the way it did. We saw 3 bodies upstairs, and not a single defender, from what I saw, was able to even connect a single shot on that top floor. And really the only action, besides it being nearly flawless on Emergence's side, happened on that bottom floor where there was almost no contestant anyways.
Yeah, I know you came from fighting games, so I'm gonna put it into terms that you'll understand. That was essentially a JV3 stock. That was a JV flawless.
That felt a little weird. I'll put it in terms you can understand.
Round where
I'm proud that
not a huge deal.
Yeah, that essentially is.
I don't know if that was shade. I don't know if that was shade though. It may not have meant. I don't think it was meant to be that way, but it definitely is like pause champ.
In a game such as Melee, where it's 3 versus 3 stocks, that you win with 2 stocks remaining, but you have 0 damage. So it's like, yeah, I pretty much won the 3. It's like
Valhalla. Melee has 4 stocks.
My bad. The JV
producer coming in.
Ultimate does 3 stock.
Does it really?
I believe
you're right.
so. I think Melee like sometimes does 5.
Because it's so fast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when everyone's running Marth, Box, or, if you're Hungry Box, Jigglypuff, it has to be super fast. Plup, though, does play a really good Samus.
Yeah, Samus is like, what, C tier, but he makes him look SS.
Okay, this banter is going on a bit.
There's Sheik, too. I forgot about Sheik.
A bit long.
Sheik just doesn't have kill potential. It's hard to...
Doesn't? Unless you're left.
Yeah, I think this is...
That is...
a bit far.
The TSM man himself.
It's alright.
Okay, no more Melee. No more Super Smash. No more Super Smash nerding out, because we do have a game on our hands. I don't want to get too off topic, but Panic, once again, gonna be all the way upstairs. As with Cafe, you get a lot of deja vu. You get a lot of the same thing over and over again, where Emergence will be going for a full top-down roam clear.
I really like what Badger's doing right here, Connor. He's able to hold such a powerful angle, but he's not able to find enough. He does find a little bit of Son of Finn that's going to take him down a little bit past 50, but you have to keep in mind, too, he's running the 1.5 ump. And while it's gotten stronger because of the more extensive sight, it's still just as weak as it's always been, so it didn't have quite the kill potential he was looking for. But already, that amount of pressure he put from the bottom floor, shooting 2 floors up and connecting, that's really powerful to see, especially up against the diffuser.
Yeah, it is interesting to see that.
So like that whole sequence went by. I picked up on the gun specifically itself is buffed, but still not strong enough. But that was probably it. I think, and again, this is not meant to rag on you, Kiglunic, as much, but because this is something that everyone has to work through in terms of refining. But listen to it again. I'm gonna try to pick up on those main points that you're saying. But very easily, what can happen is if you're trying to pack too much information into a certain portion, it can end up being forgettable. Or like, I want to hear more in how you're saying it and varying how you're saying, or I'll say it this way. I think the more you have, when you have more intention on making it very clear for what you want to say, I think it's going to help a lot of other things. So probably how I would approach it is really focus in on each time you talk all the way through that the throw to your co-caster. Try to make it be 1 point. And the goal is to zoom out to some level, right? You zoom out or zoom in. When I say there's 1 point, people might think that this is restrictive, but it's just a matter of zooming out, right? A la this view right here we have in front of us. So do you want to make a big macro point? Do you want to make a micro point? You be very clear about what you're trying to say. And I think a great way to approach it, and this is something that we could actually, so I think after we get through some of the VOD reviews of the people who are here in chat right now, I do want to watch a bit and hear how I know Uber is, there's a Cloud9 event going on right now with Valorant, and Uber is someone that is one of the best people to study in terms of hearing what he does and knowing what's possible, not necessarily trying to emulate it, right? So I think if you have some time, I would love to do a little bit of a watch along, or like we'll tune into the stream here and I'll just show like the timestamp or whatnot. So let's listen to that again. I'm going to try to pick up your main points here. Let's check up on chat. There's a huge portion of his throat in his voice without the usual throaty rasp. It's not engaging the false vocal cords at all, but holding the verbiage with a completely collapsed upper palate. I don't know these words. I feel like I need to read it in British accent. Not engaging the false vocal cords at all, but holding the verbiage with a completely collapsed upper palate and air being cut off.
The sledge, who was going to be going for vertical destruction most likely as soon as Panic gets
Powerful, so it's a little bit past.
once again, going to be all the way upstairs. As with Cafe, you get a lot of deja vu, you get a lot of the same thing over and over again, where Emergence will be going for a full top-down roam clear.
I really like what Badger's doing right here, Connor. He's able to hold such a powerful angle, but he's not able to find enough. He does find a little bit of Son of Finn that's going to take him down a little bit past 50, but you have to keep in mind, too, he's running the 1.5 and while it's gotten stronger because of the more extensive sight, it's still just as weak as it's always been, so it didn't have quite the kill potential he was looking for. But already, that amount of pressure he put from the bottom floor, shooting 2 floors up and connecting, that's really powerful to.
So so much time is spent there on this 1 point, which is totally fine. But I think there is a way. This is something to maybe put a magnifying glass to and think about, what did you really want to say? And what are ways that you can say it? And this might be one where you straight up do that drill. Like, how do you just say it in a bunch of different ways? So what I'm picking up on is that was a very unique angle that people might not always want to take. Doesn't get a kill, but he's able to get a lot of damage on that player, right? So I think what's conflicting here is that you said you like what he did and that he wasn't able to get the kill, so it's disappointing, or is that already doing its job, right? I think you need to have a very strong position about that. Like, one way that it could have been said was, like, oh, and you start off by saying this. Oh, I like how Badger's angle, very, very unique angle. You don't always see people take this, and he's able to connect, get some damage, and the information that was worth, right? Much more clear as you're going about it. But you kind of waddle back before. Again, I have it paused and I've watched it twice now, but it's a little bit unclear to me if you know exactly what you want to say in this moment, because you're saying that it was an interesting angle and that it might have been a little bit disappointing he didn't get the kill, and that the gun he has is bad, and that, but then you start to say that they have a lot of pressure. He's able to influence something that's happening on the top floor from the bottom floor, which is strong, right? So I'm a little bit confused on that point, and I think it really comes down to understanding what you really want to say and then making sure that it's very obvious.
To see, especially up against the diffuser.
Yeah, it is interesting to see that the sledge, who was going to be going for vertical destruction most likely as soon as Panic gets pushed all the way back, is going to have the diffuser because he's very prone to getting killed from a nitro cell. Ooh. But killed with bullets might be the Ash, as the Jaeger's just pre-firing away but can't quite connect onto the head of the World Eater himself that we know and love as Goria. More intel being gathering as the rest of the Emergence roster has pushed back the roamers. They know that the final 5, so all of the defenders are going to be on
agree
the
with that
first
stage.
floor. The only bit of site control that actually
It's
matters.
hard though. That's a hard one. That's a hard
you can
one
have the
to
third floor
handle.
all you want,
Also,
but
when is there a Reinhardt
give up kitchen,
in
you
this
give up the
game?
bomb site, then it's still not going to go your way. That's not a finish. Just dropping the hammer on him, opening up all these angles, making everybody sitting inside a site, mainly Martyr as well as Abadu, feel a lot more pressure. And there doesn't even need to be any breaching going on because of the reconstruction that Visionary's defense has employed. They have rotate holes on red and rotate hole inside a bakery. That's where Martyr is currently playing and has an avenue to fall back into sight as soon as Visionary loses a little bit of control and Emergence start knocking at the door.
This is the part I'm always curious about when it comes to a kitchen attack, especially when it's not from Bakery and it goes down. Gloria, the World Eaters themselves, already falls on the white stairs. Jimmy Buckets not probably realizing that it was a DBNO, doesn't quite go for it, but instead gets revived on the white stairs. There's 3 different bodies down there, and you only have a single shotgun to contest it all. C4 gets employed, does not connect. That's going to put the Mew in a really bad spot. In fact, he's able to take down, or Ben's able to be taken down, but of course the refrag does come around. Jaeger's going to go down, but Jimmy Buckets is still alive and seemingly nowhere to be seen. He's hiding around a corner, Connor, and while Jimmy Buckets is able to capitalize on one, the smoke grenade takes down Panic instead.
Is there not typically like roles in R6? I think as somebody who spent a significant amount of time with my co-caster to try to do hybrid, I'm happy I tried, but if I went back in time, I can tell myself one thing is don't do that. Because I think practicing and learning hybrid is, especially for somebody who's trying to improve, is not going to, it means that you're going to not be able to do as good of a job at either. Because I think part of it being easy listening is knowing when one person talks, they're bringing you the action, the other person talks, then they're giving you insight. I've casted with challengers casters that were grumpy if I overstepped into their play-by-play, which is weird. Yeah, I think I can definitely see that, and I think there's validity to it. I think keeping to roles is a good call, though. The problem with Siege is that the action can happen any moment. Yeah, that's totally fine. I mean, it's the same thing as Overwatch, right? So it definitely feels like it needs to have that synergy, right? Where this is really ultimately about trust. And being okay with quick handoffs back, or maybe saying if there's action happening and you're at a point, is to being able to disengage from that point, or lead into something that's some kind of action that you can comment from a color perspective. Like, but without elimination, now it's 2-3 in favor of Emergence, or whatever it happens to be. That's true, but in Overwatch you can see the team fight forming a lot easier. Yeah, for sure. It makes sense. I think that comes down to if you have like a steady co-caster, is specifically talking to that. Especially as you have this spec. Okay, let's see here from Trinok. Especially as you have on spec and you're often only seeing it from one perspective. Yeah. Which is also Overwatch's problem. Except, yeah, you're right. It's like if you only had POV.
That's going to be another one to push on up. Jimmy Buckets is able to find another one. Babadoo helps out a little bit from the other side of the bakery. But Goria is able to find one before falling themselves. It's going to make things an even 1-1 between both of these teams, and this bakery hold from the freezer side counter was really smart, especially with the counter smoke and the smoke grenades playing in the defender's advantage.
I praised the time management of Emergence's attack in round 1, but that was their undoing in round 2. They had a good roam clear, and they forced, I believe it was Panic, who was on the deep roam, all the way back down to site. But they didn't get Finn inside of train until about a minute-ish left on the clock. And that's not enough time. That's what it really funneled down to. They were quite literally funneled inside of a rotate hole and trying to push white corridor where the defenders knew exactly where the attackers were going to be pushing, and just sat there with a shotgun, sat there and threw smoke grenades. Just made it impossible to push in because Emergence didn't have anything left. They just had to throw the Hail Mary. They had to just try and hope that something happened. And unfortunately for them, it didn't. You had somebody like Abadu with the 81, the Alda, on the Maestro, just sitting there and had enough bullets to take down an entire army. Unfortunately enough for him, there was only 5 attackers. You didn't have to take down like 50 people.
Fixed map cams and POV, really.
Possible if you're going for those straight one taps. However, that's That's theoretical.
Also has like
versus
CCTV.
practicality, and most likely will never occur because Siege is, after all, a 5v5 game mode, like many other first-person shooters. But then I'm gonna praise Visionary's defense because of the deep roam that they employ. It was pretty much the epitome of what you want to see come out on your roamer. He raced hell upstairs. He was getting droned out, denying intel, just running around, making him seem very unpredictable and very wild, wasting so much time without ever taking an engagement besides the pre-fire as he walked down white stairs. And that just overall killed the clock and led to the kill of the rest of the Emergence attack.
You're definitely right, and something I was really curious about seeing that last round was that every single one of Emergence's members went down the same exact route, one by one down white stairs. That's not going to happen hopefully this round, because instead they have to funnel their way through Red Hatch and go down to Cigar. But Connor, you don't have a lot of options like you do on Kitchen when it comes to the roam clear. You have to drop Red Cigar Hatch usually, and unless you want to go for a different alternative option, you can, but they're already opening up the breach, so it's going to signify that they're going to go down that route. Now, they do have a little bit of presence on Skylight, and there's going to be a little bit of presence looking at White Stairs window as well, but this is still a scary area to be in because you can already tell.
No, this top-down view is like a fixed perspective free cam to see setup. Yeah, so you can like toggle between that back and forth and just pick the person you're following. Yeah, it makes sense that you can't fly around. Or I'll say that I understand, and I haven't seen that POV. Got it. All right, so I've kind of typed a couple things out. I think the main, of course, there's some technical feedback there. I think the main focus here is going to be to communicate the pulse of the fight. I think it's staying in tune with what is really important, like what's actually important about what's happening right now, and then how does that shift over time. I wanted to say too, so as you're making points, so this is really around the easy listening. I think the communicating the pulse of the fight is part of what makes it easier to listen to see how people are able to, how topcasters are able to make it easy to listen to and to make it easy to comprehend what is and isn't important. And I think to complement the above, maybe try to make one point at a time. And this is especially a challenge for color casters. I certainly went through this, and a lot of people that I've VOD reviewed have this problem, is where you're trying to lead people along a thought process, when maybe if you lead with saying something, a point of, I'm trying to remember what happened. So earlier on, right, we had Badger, aiming up to the roof from the bottom floor, right? It's something to the effect of, Visionary has demonstrated strong ability to anchor from angles that Emergence haven't expected. Instead of saying, well, what's really cool is to see Badger going from the bottom floor, aiming up to the top, and what it shows is that Visionary is very good at anchoring from positions that are non-traditional sightlines, right? But if you start by saying the main point first, like start off with your thesis and say, Visionary have a couple examples of being able to anchor from non-traditional sightlines. We saw earlier on Badger doing this play from the bottom. We saw Abadu holding this window from this opposite side by blowing holes into the wall. A lot of creative play here coming out of Visionary, right? Like it's a much easier point to, like, if you say your thesis first, it feels weird because it's like you're kind of saying the punchline first, but I think it is something that I hear. It's something that I think it feels sound, and I feel I've heard of a lot, but still have to do a bit more external study for that. I do like Keg's excellent transition into a tiny bit of vocal fry rasp, but it's not immediately visible to the viewer. One of the biggest things I see new Siege casters is doing is talking too much. I would agree. I casted with a guy who literally spoke from setup to round and then threw it to me for the next round, and I was like, bruh. It comes down to trust too, right? I think that's going to be a good topic to go back to, is trusting and understanding that it's important to hand off. And for the sake of the keeping it engaging and to where you're on the same team. Otherwise, it's just two people talking and alternating talking. Totally agree. I got to be able to show, I'm going to put chat on the stream next time. Definitely. Kegs asked me to review him from time to time, and he's definitely had casts where I could see him giving more and more and more of a stink eye to the mic hog. Totally. I had a meme about it and shared in production chat. He got the hint after that. I had that much time to make a meme, bro. You can, yeah, it can be kind of awkward. I would say that, yeah, I won't talk about it too much. I think we have a good review here, and I know I'm like over. I think it's half an hour late now, and I know Jakey's in chat, so like let's move on to that. So I think wrapping up. So Gaglunik, I'll send this over to you. I think there's a. It kind of looks like it's offset. I think it's more because you're really close to leveling up, and I think it's about some awareness. But in terms of the fundamentals, like it kind of doesn't need to be said, right? I think you're very comfortable on air for sure. And now it's about like, there are a couple technical things, but also I think these 2 points are very much related. And I want to expand on it so that you have something to chew on. And then as you're listening to others and maybe even listening back to your own casts, it's just something to think about. Beak is here too. All right, well, we definitely need to get a move on. Let's see here. Who is next? Oh, we have Beak. Well, I think we did this because Jakey Boy wasn't sure if he was going to be able to. I don't know if either of you guys have hard stops, but I think we can. All right. Well, I did put Beak here, so let me do that, and Jake, we might do tomorrow. So. But I'll say this. I will definitely go over today if you're still around. I believe you're in the UK though, so I know it's getting to be a bit late for you. Or my understanding was that you're in the UK. All right, let's see here. Let's go to Beak. All right. All right, we're gonna do Beak and then. Sorry for years. I'm working NA show, so don't worry about the time you go into. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think we'll just be like in half an hour from now. All right, so we got Beak. Oh. Chernek says, I'm about to head out. It's midnight for me. Thanks for the stream. I love these. I get to learn things. Can't wait for the next one. Awesome, dude. Well, thanks for coming by, and thanks for the tips around and commentary about the mics and stuff and your experiences. So yeah, it's definitely check out a VOD for you sometime. Thanks for coming through. All right, so what? No, stop. Siri, stop. Okay. All right. So there is a way to share VODs, by the way, with the timestamp. So let's see here. Starts at 3:38. 3 hours and 30 minutes. Okay.
The trailer and I did not get paid at all, so I don't think
okay, so there was so it was like the actual value. There's not a lot of budget there. There wasn't a lot of budget within that one. Well, Albert, we'll have to see if your prediction for Nemo is they're expecting
to Beak. Is this you casting now?
So they want Nemo to sort of zone out the Pharah there a little bit, and and if he is sort of a Diva 1 trick, even though he won't say otherwise, then Illuminous was on the tour maybe to deal with the flankers, but now they swapped over to the Sombra instead. So they have a Sombra to try to like harass Guac on the ball, maybe try to set up the hacks. You see.
Okay, no longer distracted by Gauntlet Grand Finals. Yeah, I feel bad. I want to catch those. Anxious to put 100% of my focus on this. I would like to suck less as a caster. Welcome, welcome. How's it going, Bull Skunk?
They're going to pop that wide baffle there, the window, but Guac rolling through, dislodging Gozu, making, and also forcing the lamp here as well. So taking off the high ground, but while that's happening, Guac went a little too deep, got hacked, got discorded, is down. So there's one player down for HQ not bound, but they will have Nano Barrage, Nano Visor very soon.
I feel bad. When does NA start? 3:38. About an hour or so. Okay, I think we'll be wrapped up for that. Your color. Okay, so I mean, but this is the team fight, right? I mean, this is your cast 338's in the middle of this interview, it looks like.
Okay.
That is my prediction.
This is Invictus, I guess, right? Is he casting?
Core, but I think they have Nemo's team has a really good chance of winning as well. So I hope it's a close game. I hope everyone enjoys what we have upcoming. And with that, we'll throw to our casters, which are Avast.
Which are me again.
Beak.
And Beak, yeah. So
Oh,
we'll
okay.
see you at the end of the match, Invictus. So let's take me on over, Solomon. Take me to Beak. I'll be.
Which are in the same Discord channel. But
Hey!
yeah.
We're here. We're
How
here.
you doing,
Beak.
Avast?
It's
Yeah.
me. We're in the same Discord channel, that's true, but we're through Tech Magic. We were not actually
Okay,
in the
got
same
it.
Discord channel at the same time, sort of.
Right, exactly.
But how are you today? Are you excited for our upcoming match?
I'm good. I think we're going to get some good Overwatch here between HK and...
All right, Beak says, hi, everyone. Pretty new to color casting for Overwatch and was able to cast 3 to 4 times this weekend. I'll let some feedback on what I can improve on. I'm still getting used to some things and did some other things well, so can definitely be better. Everyone can always be better. But that's true. Sounds good. Want to get into Overwatch color casting more seriously and have had a few good opportunities already just last weekend. I want to get initial feedback on how I color cast and any things I should be aware of that I wasn't even considering. Big thing I'd like to get out of this is also just simply to learn how to VOD review yourself. As much as I appreciate getting feedback from the community, I want to be effective reviewing myself going forward. Yep, that's a good call. You should learn how to fish. Very good, very good.
You, John, and Weezer. So, I mean, and the lobby's ready. Yeah, I mean, the
Christmas
lobby
lights,
has
I like
been
it. I gotta
pretty
put mine
itching
up.
to get going. They're even talking about the stench of Florida in the server.
Mm.
So I think that's your cue to kind of press.
Rode
ready and
Rode
get in
NT
the game.
USB is what I started on as well. Was my first
Please
mic
read
upgrade.
Nemo's last message
Nemo's last message in what?
in your chat.
In my chat. Okay, let's see. Scrolling upwards. I can't. It was deleted. It was all deleted. Did Nemo just get banned? Did we time him out? I can't see it.
Let's go for it.
HK is
on the broadcast there just yet, but it is going to be Blizzard World. And Beak, looking at what your opinions are of these squads, who do you think is favored on this map?
I still think HK is favored, not just this map, but also in this match overall. I'm looking at up and down their roster, and I really don't see any weaknesses. For Recurve, as much as the discussions we've had about him this whole weekend and through your entire Discord, he does build a good roster. As to Invictus's point earlier on the desk, he builds a good roster. It doesn't have any weaknesses. The one weakness that might be going on is the fact that they don't change their comp at all. So I think this is going to be entirely predicated upon if Weezer has been able to figure out the solution to crack the code that is HK.
I see. Well, HK, they definitely are dynamic. They are, but really also not that dynamic at the same time because they have 3 different Mercy players to pocket Recurve. But you've John Weezer, that seems to be, the favorite for some coming in, minus Nemo, and looking like they're going to be a very dive style here on the offense. They're playing Diva and Ball alongside, but still playing a Zen and a BAP. So it's an interesting combo there with like Illuminus on the Torb. So a slow backline, but a very fast front line. With the Zen and HK on that Pharah like we expected. Playing the Ball, Hammond, they have Lux and Farmer, who I was really impressed with yesterday on the defense as they approach. See a little bit of poke
Are my
coming
health
out.
bars?
The
Hey, they're
Rockets
on now.
Trying to be dodged, not finding anyone just yet as that turret goes up on that dive. And there's the dive action from Nemo. Gets immediately antied and demeched. Kind of a hyper feat, I'd have to say, with that dive. It was him alone. I didn't really know what they were going for with just them to dive.
Oh man, first elimination of the match is Recurve on Nemo, right? So he's already setting the tone for the different underlying narratives that we're going to have here today. Yeah, like you said, before they even rolled out, really interesting kind of hybrid comp. You don't see Ball and Diva paired together too often here against what this HK is about, but they
What
must
just
think that there's a
happened?
solution here.
That
To,
slam was
unwrap
strange.
this, comp.
I'm assuming that the Diva for Nemo is they're expecting the Pharah. They were on, so they want Nemo to sort of zone
so
out
it's
the
interesting.
Pharah there a
You
little
went into
bit.
pure like kind of color there, wrapping it up. The fight was still kind of going on. They're kind of tussling, but I think it ended up playing out that it was pretty much over. But it did feel weird. Like you've John I'll just call him Weezer. Weezer seemed like they still wanted to stick around, and we're kind of figuring out what they can get, and they got cleaned up HK. So I don't know if that was intentional, but I think maybe. Yeah, I guess you had a read on that. The fight was pretty much over, maybe.
And and if he is sort of a Diva 1 trick, even though he won't say otherwise, then Illuminous was on the tour maybe to deal with the flankers, but now they swapped over to the Sombra instead. So they have a Sombra to try to like harass Guac on the ball, maybe try to set up the hacks. You see they're gonna pop that wide baffle there, the window, but Guac rolling through, dislodging Gozu, making and also forcing the lamp here as well. So taking off the high ground, but while that's happening, Guac went a little too deep, got hacked, got discorded, is down. So there's one player down for HQ not bound, but they will have Nano Barrage, Nano Visor very soon, alongside the Valk, and as let's say that Lux picked up Mac Tackle.
Yeah, I think this whole comp now, as we see them trying to play it, is the fact that it is trying to counter recurve, right? So you have Bath, with the window trying to counter him. You have Nemo trying to do that as well. But now we're getting those kills, and they're actually reaping those benefits.
You've John Weezer picking up all those kills on point there. The mines are invested from Guac with too little too late, along with the barrage and the visor, and they just did not get any value. Really good work there from the tank line of Weezer and the supports.
You pretty much went into full color again. I think that fight definitely was. I think that one definitely was still going on in the middle. So I'll start by saying I think what's great about what my first impressions are. It's coming across very loud and clear that you are also very comfortable in your skin, right? You're comfortable on air, and what that really means is that you're not kind of fishing for or searching for what to say. Like, I can definitely tell you're coming in and knowing what you want to say when you open your mouth, which is important and something that not everyone can do as they're starting out. So like once you get over that, that's really big, and now you get to think about like, all right, how do you refine what you're doing? So what I noticed is that these first two team fights, and we'll keep playing it, but I noticed that when it gets thrown to you, maybe that signal of like, where are we in the team fight in terms of what I should be talking about, is something that we'll keep watching, and it might just have been those two team fights. So well, yeah, let's keep going here. The first few fights here with Avast, I was trying to sync with him. He sometimes threw to me during a mid fight. Yeah, which is something I think you should expect to happen with certain casters. Obviously, it sounds like something that you adjust to, but there are ways to, as a color commentator, reset the fight, right? So he's passing it to you at these, I think there are natural breakpoints in the fights to where action is still happening, but you can still provide color commentary in that moment. All right, where are they at? Where are the respawns at? Where are the ultimates at? Where is the positioning? Who's in a favorable position? And then, throwing it back with some kind of resetup is good. So I wonder if my early blogs are still up. Let's see here.
Keeping them in check.
Do. God, it was bad. I actually wrote so much stuff about hybrid, and I want to delete it all. I think these Twitch clips are dead. Darn. There's some really good examples with Monty Doa handing off mid-team fight.
As Barbin taking out too late in the fight, those are just late.
Yeah,
kills.
they can be quick. You can just throw it back to them.
So first point going the way here for you, John Weezer.
And typically this is when a backline here. This is when I'd probably switch off in this.
What just happened? The whoever had production going forgot to add the caster audio to the scene with the picture-in-picture.
Something else because it's kind of death sentence for balls, but we know this is not their MO. But so I want to see how Guac is going to be able to handle Sombra here.
Recurve getting the kill there from the damage to the rocket. As Lux also finding Illuminous, who got slept by Farmer. Farmer always finding these very key sleeps. Mac Tackle can try to get this high ground a little bit, but you've John Weezer looking like they want to back up here a little bit. They've actually committed the mines for Mac Tackle, trying to zone off that high ground, and Lux finds another Tundra down. Lux just keeping the DPS in check currently for John Weezer.
Yeah, and they're committing the bomb here too, so they want to keep moving that. Oh my god, absolutely massive bomb!
Nemo Coffee with 3, waiting, just completely zoning them when they were trying to follow up. HQ not bound, not knowing how to deal with it. What a bomb from Nemo Coffee. His ego absolutely soaring to heights never before seen. You've John Weezer holding on to the EMP to both supportals. They have a lot to work this upcoming fight. The pressure is going to be on for the HK not bound, especially for Rico with the barrage.
Yeah, they have to really mark Recurve here to see where he's going to come from, because I'm sure he's going to try and surprise them with a different angle, whereas Max Truck is going to have this flux. Oh, but the EP comes in and they're taking it to him.
Wow, what a good dive there from you, John Weezer, finding the backline immediately. Snowman, Farmer, Mac Truck all down, and Recurve not even a chance to barrage. What aggression there.
And not even a contest on this either, right? So now they're coming into the final point of Blizzard World with over 4 minutes. So, you know, Weezer, credit to them, really setting the tone here, you know, for the first match of the upper bracket finals.
HKs, they're going to need to stabilize here a little bit. They have ults up. They're about to have a Valk as well, so there's going to be 4 ults available. There's no EMP for you, John Weezer. So they just need to make sure not to die to the window. Just keep some pressure here on the Tundra and Mac Tackle. As Recurve throwing those rockets, just spamming towards the point. They've actually already eaten a great eat there from the truck, stopping the pulse. The Discord's still out on Recurve and also on Lux now, just trying to keep the pressure on up on the high ground, keeping him in check. The window invested. Recurve going for the barrage, finding one, getting the lamp out. His Luck also commits the visor at the same time. And that fight's over.
Fight is over. HK does stop the bleeding here, but it was expensive. I mean, they used at least 3 to 4 ults there from my count. And the closest thing they'll have for the next one is Farmer trying to get up that nano, you know, for the next fight. But yeah, I mean, being able to stop this going in, and now they have a trans they can maybe even use offensively, because it's not like HK has anything to stop them.
Yeah, they invested probably a little too much in that fight. Barben holding onto the trans though. Nemo getting close to the bomb. You see some of the flank pressure coming out here from you, John Weezer. Approaching from this left side, trying to keep the Discord on, trying to spam down this alleyway as they have Nemo pressuring point Tundra. Just getting a little bit of poke out onto Mech Truck there. As HQ not bound, they're playing slow. They know they don't have ults.
So that was a good setup. I was kind of listening to a lot. I just want to take in what as much as possible. Let's watch through the end of this map, and then we'll talk through it.
Setting up the poke. You, John Weezer, looking for their opening. They actually kind of prefer this sort of situation.
I do want to say though, as people are watching along, what I'm listening for, Beak, is what are you bringing up as points? How clear is it? How clear is the point you're trying to bring up? And are you using any kind of tools to make it easier to understand what you're trying to say?
Situation where the longer they fight here, the longer they poke, they have a Discord, they can put them out of position. They know they have ult advantage as well because HG doesn't know. But in Recurve though, getting the damage booster rocket onto Tundra. Tundra out of this fight, so it's a 5v6 right now, but HG not bound. Still getting pressed back. It's tough for them to deal with all the Zen presence from Barben right now, as Guak trying to contest, trying to keep that cart from moving, as Nemo's gonna throw the bomb.
And they're gonna hide here. So the note bot, Nemo does not get anyone with the bomb, but the kills are still coming in. And we see John Weezer does have a bunch of ults coming in, but they might be actually able to leverage here to win this mid-fight.
As Mech Truck and Mac Tackle, they're both going down. Recurve dropping the barrage, not finding anything. Nemo finding 2 in the back as Barben shuts down Recurve. Nemo finds a 3rd. Nemo on a tear right now, and Guak trying to contest, getting hacked out of the contest from the EMP from Illuminous. As you, John Weezer, they coast on in a little less than 2 minutes here for Blizzard World. That's a fast time. HK not bound, more like defense not bound.
Yeah, that is a fast time. And like you said, a great point is the sense that I think it's a Zen difference, right? The longer that fight drawn out with Weezer being able to have the Discord orb, they just continue to move that cart. And by the time that Recurve had that other barrage, it was really almost too late. I mean, there's too many, you know, losses on HK's side that barrage was pretty much a press Q to die and go back to spawn. So, you know, credit to John Weezer so far for setting a really good time. And we need to HK needs to look themselves in the mirror here and try and have a really good attack, if not get a better attack.
I mean, do you think they need to make any sort of comp swaps here? Do you think there is something that they could do differently? I mean, they sort of can't because of, you know, they're sort of stuck to the Fair Mercy, but let's say theoretically if they wanted to, do you think there's, maybe they could change up their tank line a little bit, maybe change up one of the supports from an Ana to maybe like a BAP? Do you think there's anything that on that sort of line they could change, or are they just sort of stuck with this?
I mean, I think I'd want them to move a little bit more towards what's been meta here with like, obviously they're playing Ball Sig in terms of a meta tank line, but I think I'd want to see maybe Lux go on to Tracer. And I think he can then kind of mark targets alongside Guak on those dives and just have even more kind of point presence.
Cool. All right, so yeah, some of the commentary reflects all the people involved in this game know each other super well and in their Discord, and they meme on each other. Yeah, I mean these are definitely fun events, right? Because it's still pretty solid gameplay, but ultimately it's about having the fun. So what I'm liking about what I'm hearing is I think in those moments that you get thrown to, they may be a bit chaotic, but you are picking up on details that you think are important. I think one that really stuck out is on that push towards point C, the amount of ultimates that
trying to keep the Discord on, trying to spam down this
pick up,
alleyway as they
you pick up that in this fight here, after this is after the reset, right? Like the defense kind of holds, and then all of a sudden the attack has like 4 ultimates to work with, right? So I think in terms of the things that you're picking up on the game are the most important details, of course, but I think now the challenge will be to what is the way that you communicate that. And what I mean by that is, instead of saying this team has 4 ultimates, what if you were to say the nature in which they can be used, or maybe the amounts of or very key things on each side that kind of counteract, right? Like a rocket barrage probably is counteracted by a transcendence, right? Let's listen to it again, and maybe let's think about like, what are you trying to pick up on, and maybe what is another way that could be said.
They know they have ult advantage as well because HP doesn't know, but a recurve though, getting the damage to Rocket onto Tundra. Tundra out of this fight, so it's a 5v6 right now, but HP not bound. Still getting pressed back. It's tough for them to deal with all the Zen presence from Barbin right now, as Guak trying to contest, trying to keep that cart from moving, as Nemo's gonna throw the bomb.
And they're gonna hide here. So the note bot, Nemo does not get anyone with the bomb, but the kills are still coming in. And we see John Weezer does have a bunch of ults coming in, but they might be actually able to.
So right, I think you're trying to figure out what to say and maybe pick up on. Right now you're saying, oh, the kills are still coming through, right? I guess Tundra just came back from spawn, right? I think you picking up on the ultimates definitely is a good thing to go on, right? So if we were to summarize exactly what happened here, obviously we have the power of pause right now, but maybe a better way to say it is like, while HK not bound got a pick, Weezer's ultimates are all coming online, and they, and you can make a point to that, right? The EMP is a game-ending one. The pulse bomb finding somebody could be game-ending, or even just, a point of like Weezer has nearly all their ultimates coming online, whereas HK need to rely on this rocket barrage to find traction, right? So I think one drill that I think is especially useful for Overwatch is something I call pause and predict. So if we pause the game and try to figure out what do we think is going to happen, right? Anticipate what you think is going to happen here and how it's going to play out based on what you've seen so far. So let's go ahead and actually do that for an upcoming fight. I think this is something that would be good for you to do as even like watching Contenders, right? As you're watching Contenders Gauntlet later today. I might continue to stream if people want to hang out and do like a watch along. We can do a bit of that where I don't think I can exactly stream, but we can talk and chat about how and I'll probably hang out in the BGG voice channel if people wanted to join. Well, we'll see. Actually, I need to check if I'm able to do that, but basically take moments to, like, you can even pause the game or even just live on the go, what do we think is going to happen here, right? And see how it plays out and be like, okay, that's where I was wrong, or there could be obviously something that you just don't see coming.
Leverage here to win this mid.
Because I think once you build up more of that, like being able to recognize situations, it will come to mind a lot quicker. So it's just really a case of going from spelling with spelling words to speaking paragraphs. That makes sense. Because you just forcing yourself to really make a read on what you're seeing and predicting what happens means that it's going to come faster for the future. Let's go to that next half.
I think it's a Zen difference, right?
Jakey, we'll get going in about 7 minutes from now.
They just continue to move that cart, and by the time that Recurve had that other barrage, it was really almost too late. I mean, there's too many, losses.
I think it's a good point. I totally agree with this.
That barrage was pretty much a press Q to die and go back to spawn. So, credit to John Weezer.
There was from an honest
walk on those dives and just have even more kind of point presence all on those dives to finish up any of those limbs. And also, I think maybe moving to that Zen. I mean, I think Zen right now is really strong depending on the meta and depending on the map. And I think that Discord Orb is invaluable for those dives.
Team HK can swap. That's their gimmick.
Okay, that's true. They also can't swap, but
They
I know
cannot.
that's their gimmick. I know they're a gimmick account, but sometimes, you know, is gimmick
Doesn't
worth more
hurt
than
to
victory?
imagine, right?
Doesn't hurt to imagine it. Maybe they'll swap. Maybe they'll change their heroes for the next map, but it is true that they're sort of locked into this. So now, I forgot that is their gimmick, actually. For some reason, I thought it only applied to Recurve, but I forgot that's their whole team. They can't swap at all. It's their whole team. So they are going to be poking here on the approach. Lux dropping the heal station there. Just poke damage coming out here for HK not found. Walk up on that high ground. They're looking to set up the dive, looking to see if they can isolate anyone, maybe find someone with the rocket early. As you've John Weezer playing slow. They know they can play slow. They're playing around on the Zin. They're looking for hacks from Illuminous. As Mac Tackle those slept. Gonna get woken up. Gonna zoom on out. As currently neither team committing to anything just yet.
Yeah, interesting. We see that Luxafar is playing kind of a ground soldier here. I'd like to see him take the high ground, and I think the receiver is trying to jockeying over to that left side high ground, but it doesn't seem like they're going to get that. As John Weezer is pushing them back already.
Oh, what a good play there from Nemo and Barvin. Barvin putting the Discord on Recurve as they engage.
So one suggestion I have is, unless you're like, what you just did there is completely fair. You can say, what I'd like to see is this. Here's an alternative though, and something that I would lean more towards, is you can say it in a way to where your opinion is not even part of it, right? If I said instead, what has been interesting about HK's attack is that Soldier's been mostly on the ground. It has not been working out. They've been not being able to get the picks, and it seems like HK is hanging around and trying to get picks between Recurve and Lux on two different flanks, but they aren't able to get it yet. They're at a bit of a standstill right now, right? Like a point like that, to where you're not saying that it's bad. You're not saying that it's good. You're just saying that this is what's happening and this is the result, right? And you can make an inferences from how they're playing into maybe what they're looking for, right? And kind of what I'm picking up on is that HK is looking for a pick. They're trying to, they're not just moving on the point and targeting one specific person. They're kind of at like a default, almost like an attack shooter. They're running these defaults and trying to see if they can get a pick on somebody before they move in on the point.
So Nemo can focus down, and you see you, John Weezer.
Because if you set up a point like that, if I'm saying, so it's more of a, if you're more explaining what you're or making a comment on what you're seeing and its results, and what has happened as a result of what you're observing, it sets like expectations to where you never have to expose yourself as or as to say this, like, where you never are going to be exposed to having made a wrong mistake, right? If you're seeing this comment like, I'd like to see Soldier get to the high ground and then he gets a pick in that exact moment, then it's like, hey man, did he really need to be there, right? I think these comments tend to happen when people may not have, like, as you're searching for something to say, you'll fall back to these certain things that are your perception and your understanding of the game, when in fact the players might have a deeper understanding of the game better than you, or you might have a wrong read. So I think it's important to understand that this is something that you can do, in terms of you can say things that are kind of your opinion to read in the game in a way where you are never saying definitively whether you think it's better or not. It's just that the Soldier has been on the low ground. Typically, we'll see soldiers try to take this high ground, but it seems that they're focusing on two different flanks and trying to get a pick. This has not worked for them. Are they going to continue to try to do this, or are they going to mix it up, right? And then you can call back to it later, right? They continued the same tactic. They knew that they forced it to work. Soldier on the low ground. They got their pick, moved onto the point, and cleared that map. And now they're on Street's face, right? So setting yourself up for those, being able to call back to things later. So making inferences on what you see now, making a takeaway about what's the effect of what you see, but then not having to say it's a good or bad idea, I think is a good way to go about it. Because especially as you're learning, as you're even at the top level of play, right? That unless you're a player, like a former pro player, I think those inferences and those statements are going to be ones that even if you're right, some people will be like, you're just a podcaster, you're really bad, these players know better, blah blah blah, right? So you just never have to deal with that.
Not bound, far back. They're going to have to regroup here. Now, Nano is up for Farmer. Valkyrie about to be up here for Snowman as well. So they have support ults. Visor ticking upwards for Lux. And there's no trance up yet for Barba just yet, but I mean, Gosu has the lamp, obviously, while playing the FAP, so there's some options there. Luminous about to have the EMP, and we've seen John Weezer use this aggressive EMP many times before as Mac Tackle slept in the backline. Farmer doing it again, but can they punish? No, they cannot, it looks like.
No, and we see that the mines are coming out already, and that is an advantage here right in this middle of the choke. So the kills are coming on the side of Weezer, and that Discord, I think, is really proving invaluable as we've been talking
Good
about.
callback to your
fights.
And they use the window there as well from Gosu. They chase down those frags. Mac Tackle still, even though Slept making the space there for HK not bound, they're not able to finish it off just yet.
Important to note,
they just can't find it.
HK used Nano Visor.
Kind of yanked
really
from
no
him.
value with it, right? So
Yeah, completely negated there. They didn't have to use the EMP, they didn't have to use Trance.
So now HK is kind of looking for answers. I mean, they have both tank ults, and they do have a recurve barrage coming in that should be built out pretty soon. But John Weezer's team has a lot of different options to play around this.
I love how it's sort of morphing into like a person, like John Weezer. But on
John
EMP
Weezer
comes out, finds Snowman, so there's no Valkyrie up, but they don't find anyone. There's no dive there from you, John Weezer. And so really the EMP was used for really no reason. The Valk comes out, Recurve has barraged up. Max Truck also has the Flux available as Nemo throws out the bomb. The Trance is out. Does it find it? Finds 3 again! It finds 3 again! No! Nemo ego rising. It's too big. It's getting too big. It won't be able to be contained.
Oh my! I don't think he'll be able to fit through his bedroom door after this game is done. I mean, Mac Truck sensing he's gonna have the fight opening ultimate with that Sig ult, only for Nemo to press Q and throw that bomb out and get 3.
And HK they had a really good counter engage there, made sure the EMP did not get much. But now they're in a situation where...
So it's okay for you to hold there for a little bit more and just kind of... I'll say this, don't feel the need to always have to wrap up, or it can be condensed a lot more, right? Especially as you sense the fight is starting to happen. Make sure that you're trying to contribute towards setting your co-caster and your play-by-play and your observer, in fact, to look for something specifically. I think that the color commentator set up prior to the fight is the most important part of the job for the color commentator in Overwatch casting. So looking at the field, looking at and understanding what are the compositions, what are the ultimates that are available, what is the previous history that has happened in this match so far, into what we expect to happen. Where are we looking to draw our attention to something, into what I should be paying attention to, right? We have a bunch of ultimates happening here. I don't know how this fight's going to go, but this is part of like the pause and predict, right? And you may not remember this either. Take a moment to look at what's on the screen. We have, ultimates for Recurve. We have the Nano Boost. When we have the window from the other side from Weezer. What's coming to mind? We have 50 seconds left to go for point A. They've continued to been stuffed on this attack. What are we expecting to see? In terms of what I would bring up here, is I would say that they've not been able to make Recurve's barrages work. Will they add the Nano this time? This could be the variation they do. And on the other side, I'm really looking at Gosu's window is the thing that ultimately shut down the attack visor from Lux earlier on, right? So what I'm looking for is, can they get Recurve to a place to use the ultimate and potentially Nano the barrage so that it can get kills a lot more quickly? And where is the positioning of the supports? Because that window or that garage door now is extremely potent. Right, so that kind of prediction, what I anticipate to happen is that HK is going to go in. They're just going to barrage when they have the opportunity. They don't seem like a team that is... They are patient in terms of the setups, but this is a dire situation here, and they have that ultimate coming up. Looks like they're going to try to just do something as early as possible, right? That's my prediction. And then in this exercise, we're now going to see how it plays out. Right, so I think it's going to be a Nano... they should Nano the Pharah. And in response, they really need to get into the supports. Otherwise, the Pharah is going to get burned down by the window.
There's less than a minute remaining. Nano barrage is up. If you're John Weezer, how do you stop this push when you know there's just one fight? There's only one fight condition peak. How do they stop this?
I think you just have to play, and you have to make sure you know exactly where Recurve is any time. And Nemo has to keep his DM, because no matter how Nano he is, the DM is going to negate all of it, as it already is coming out. No really effect though.
Oh, air shot though. I saw the air shot off the Lux finds another. Lux getting 2 very important kills. And HK not bound. They just let Recurve survive for too long in that barrage. They had to know it was coming, but he got way too much value. But Lux...
So he's trying to... So I hear Avast doing this is that he's a... When he was casting contenders, and most of his casting... Yeah, at the higher level was with ZP, so he was doing color. I think he's trying to help push you in the direction of pointing out certain things that he would think is important, and then asking for your opinion on it, which I think is not how it typically their relationship might go. I think maybe a little less, I don't want to say handholdy, but like he's definitely trying to kind of push you in a direction because you know maybe he knows that you're newer to it, so which is totally fine. I think if you listen back to your response here. You should already, as a color commentator, your brain is working overtime in the moment you're not talking. That is the time you need to be thinking. That is the time you need to be watching. That's the time you need to be listening, right? Because as soon as you get that throw, you need to know the best thing for you to say in that moment. And if we listen back to, and again, I'm not saying this is bad, but just listen for when he throws to you. What is the thing you're actually saying?
And HK they had a really good counter engage there, made sure the EMP did not get much. But now they're in a situation where there's less than a minute remaining. Nano barrage is up. If you're John Weezer, how do you stop this push when you know there's just one fight? There's only one fight condition peak. How do they stop this?
I think you just have to play, and you have to make sure you know exactly where Recurve is any time. And Nemo has to keep his DM because no matter how nano he is, the DM is going to negate all of it as it already is coming out. No really effect though.
Oh, air shot though. I saw the air shot off this. Lux finds another. Lux getting 2 very.
Right, so you say they need to play through it, and I think it is important for like what you said, is that they need to keep an eye on where Recurve is. One thing that was maybe a little bit challenging here is that he's very much cornering you and to have to respond specifically into what John Weezer has to do in it. And in another situation to where maybe it's a bit more open, I think a comment on, hey, look, it really comes down to this barrage. Are they going to nano it? How many resources are they going to devote into it? Versus, I think what you pointed about Nemo on the Diva is super important. That's an awesome point, right? And so if you're saying it in more of a way of HK's win condition here is a rocket barrage. John Weezer has so many ways to negate that, though. They have a Diva that can eat it up even if it's nanoed, right? So it's important for this Diva to mark Recurve. Right? If you go into the fight with that kind of setup and you watch that fight happen, you see the Diva's nowhere in sight. So we have to kind of infer, and I'd be curious to see if you pick up on this. The Diva, if I watch like this, I don't think the Diva was even anywhere close. Right? Goes in.
You have to make sure you
Diva's in the center.
Where Recurve is any time. Nemo has to keep his DM because no matter how
nanoed,
nano he is, the DM is going to be getting
goes up high. Where's the Diva?
No really effect though.
There's no defense matrix. Right, so and we see, okay, so the Diva might have been there trying to defense matrix, but maybe the cooldown of the Jets were off because the rest of the team was pressuring the Diva, right? There's one, when you reduce it down to a couple things you're looking for, you're going to be able to retain that information much easier, right? As when we did the pause and predict, I made the call that the barrage is going to be a win condition here, and they need to watch out for where the garage door gets put down or where the LT from the BAP goes down. So those ended up, I got very lucky, right? But it was from inferring from watching this match that those are going to be the two things that the teams, they literally came head to head, right? And they got really high so that they couldn't, so that it was actually a really, I think that was a clever play from Recurve. Going super high means that the effectiveness of that BAP ultimate is like negated, right? And dumping all those resources into the BAP, which is something like that field being up during a rocket barrage, it gets a ton of value until that thing is destroyed. So that's kind of how that played out, right? So if you're making kind of those assertions for what you're watching out for, the ability to call back to it means that you're reinforcing your own knowledge, but also building a storyline here too, right? This is becoming now a Recurve versus Gosu, really. And can HK not bound distract the Diva from this Pharah? Because that's the one thing that's really holding it back. If you look at the rest of the team, no one's dealing with this Pharah except for Gosu and Nemo. So I would say that I think the fundamentals, the main thing here is practice recognizing what is important to watch for. I think the pause and predict drill is going to be really, really, really helpful for you, because I've spent a lot of time like watching these, so it's like it becomes second nature to me now to be like have a prediction of what I think is going to happen and then seeing how it plays out, and then my mental model will change. But if you never make that prediction, then you're never going to kind of like improve your mental model, if that makes sense. And you have to do it each time you watch new teams, and that's where like the knowledge of the teams is going to make a lot more sense, and you can bring that into your cast. So I would say here, strengths. Sorry, I realized we're also 10 minutes late from what I said for Jakey. So I think strengths, you're definitely, I think for the fundamentals and comfort, you do well, or you're clearly comfortable. Let's say it this way. You are comfortable with the fundamentals, understanding your role, the role of your co-caster, and reading the game quickly. I think the next is to, how do you level up here? So I'll see the context first of not just telling you to do a drill, but focus on making sure you're setting up for the action. What should we look for? What is important? What is notable about the past to inform the future? Right? Like, I very luckily picked up on that Gosu's BAP ultimate has been really impactful. He contributes to the damage in that point, and it stays very safe with the immortality field. So I knew that was going to be a big factor coming on, and very fortunately for HK, they recognized that was a big factor for them too. So they needed to focus down the Baptiste. They reduced it to a 1v1 effectively, with 2 ultimates on the side of recurve to take out the BAP as the rest of the team was cleaned up. So I think it's important to do that. And so to do the above, try the pause plus predict drill as you're watching Overwatch. Have an expectation for what is going to happen. Then predict. Have an expectation for what's going to happen, then see how it plays out. Were you right? Wrong? Did something not expected happen? So this helps you like index those things that happen. This helps you remember. Oops, I'm typing off the bottom. This helps you remember notable things that will inform the future. Cool. So I'll send this over to you. But yeah, dude, like I think you're definitely in a place to where you're already at a floor that you should feel good about, going after, doing community events and trying to get into working with Elohel and Monkey Bubble, who are I think the 2 leading peeps right now in Overwatch casting. But like I think recommendation that I have for every caster is make content people want to watch, right? Study things to see what's out there. What do people like? Just do anything consistently is so important right now. And it's a forehead comment. It's something I mega struggle with and I still struggle with. So like these reviews, right? I actually always get kind of the feeling of like, oh, is this going to be worth it for anybody? Does anyone even want to watch? But I think for me, what, I don't actually, I'm not disappointed that there are only quote unquote 8 people watching, right? Because I know that this is going to help, hopefully help you out and help out people who are watching this. And that's enough for me, right? So I think that leveraging of expectations is important, right? And that's why a lot of like, if you're doing something that is for you, that means that you're going to have the fuel to keep continuously doing it. So kind of find that, I would say, make sure you're doing things that are outside of casting as well, because things are changing. Like there's a huge emphasis on commentary because of its relation to sports, and it's kind of the only way to have a take that's going to be listened to. But I think it's things are in a place to now where you can do community cast, but then it just takes one really good video for you to get noticed. So yeah, keep it up. Keep posting stuff and looking for feedback. I want to start doing these weekly. So okay, cool. All right, Jakey, we are finally at you. So thanks so much for your patience. How would you do this weekly? Bull Skunk, thank you so much. That'd be dope. Are you gonna submit a VOD though? Hee hee. NCS. It does. I mean, this is exactly what I need right now. I don't want to make a page. No. I love Notion, but sometimes the formatting is really rough. Something about this, like, it's all formulaic, but it's still a bop. Alright, let's bring it down. Jakey boy. I was gonna do a British accent, but I don't wanna. He's waited this long. I don't want to make him cringe too much. Okay. It's my first real return to solo casting. I'm the streaming manager of Esports Wales, Team Tan, and tried to keep the cast as impartial as possible. Just wanting to pick up where I could potentially improve on the cast as a whole. Oh god, please no. Were you here earlier? Let's see here. I don't use your page. Sorry, dude. Yeah, we're just not there in our relationship. Volskunk says, I have a lot to work on and can already tell you're a wonderful teacher. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Hopefully it's helpful. I feel like a lot of times I'm talking out of my ass, but if it helps, then that's what matters. I heard your British stuff earlier. Then you liked it, right? Awesome feedback, Mushi. Thanks for the help. I'll be sure to keep grinding. Smile. Very good. Very good. I'll hold you to it. All right. So yeah, solo cast, which is always rough. All right. We delay no longer. Look at that handsome fella. Ah, that's what you meant by the audio things.
Some information on where these.
Oh, I need to enable cat jam here.
Some information on where this team's hand side is stacked up, and you can see there via the mini.
So for me, I'm already like, am I watching an ESL cast? Because you know you're the classic English. Little bit. You're a little bit north, right? Of London, I'd say, on the brief amount.
In the top left hand corner of your screen, 4 players actually over towards this B bomb site. Only Pommy.
See, I'm picking up on it. I can tell, man.
Trying to gain some information on
my only signal is literally like, that sounds a little like there's elements of Manchester that I'm hearing in there. So I'm like, I think that's north.
Going, he's going to be hearing these footsteps now running towards him. Actually, let's
actually go to the beginning of this. I think your mic's
split right now. Going up.
And about an hour from Manchester. Look at me. See, I'm proud of myself. You know. All right. I'll say this every time. Tac shooters are about building tension.
Quite a interesting split right now. Going up for this.
About building tension.
It looked like they were going to be boosting up on short, but no. It looks
so
like
all
Zoki
of the other stuff we were talking about your dynamic range, your tonality, you're drawing attention to things, the details you're bringing up. It's about building tension because it is not completely obvious because it is a round-to-round game. But ultimately, that scoreboard might mean that somebody on an eco needs to clutch it out or they lose the whole thing. That's what ultimately the casters need to be able to bring, is giving context to each round. Because in Overwatch, it's very telegraphed. Do you get to the end of the point with time? Great. Are you about to run out of time at point 1? That sucks, right? So that's especially where in tech shooters, casters need to be the ones to really carry that story.
For information here, trying to gain some information on where this team's hand side is stacked up, and you can see there via the minimap in the top left-hand corner of your screen, 4 players actually over towards this B-bomb site.
I like how you're giving yourself time.
Tommy left alone towards bathrooms, trying to
give a little more levels.
Trying to gain some information on where these T's might be going. He's going to be hearing these footsteps now running towards him. Actually hears and sees 3 of them. And now going to be rotating over to long, as that's where he sees that attack coming in and actually gets gunned down relatively quickly by Noisy and Rye. And they're actually going to be doubling back now. They've made that contact play up long and instantly doubled back on what they were doing. And that's actually drawn all 4 CTs over to this A bomb site. Only Mr. left alone on the B bomb site now. He's got a lot of work to do. He does have Ollie in his pocket with him. A lot of work to do between these 2 players, trying to hold down this B bomb site with 5 players barreling towards them relatively quickly. Ollie now trying to take this peek into Monster. Actually does do damage towards Noisy, but takes him down relatively quickly, and now the bomb already being planted. Esports Wells not looking too long for this world. Ryback and Wally with it all to do to try and take this retake this bomb site. Wally actually managing to pick up 1 in the form of Exertas. But it's still a tall task, and Wally trying to do the best he can, but goes down relatively quickly, and now all onto Ryback. Unfortunately, cannot hit those heads, and that is the first round going the way of EXO Esports.
Yeah, I think a couple of things I want to point out. I think in general, I think you have a good pulse on where the match is, and then you're communicating that too with your tone. I hate listening to myself casting. Hey, it's I won't say that I got to a point where I liked listening to myself cast, but you're gonna go what I went through personally, and what I'd be curious actually if others have gone through this. There are these ways that I would go through where I'd be like, ugh, I hate my voice. I hate how it sounds. To like, okay, actually, like I sound like I kind of like how I sound today. Like it's something I'm working on. Like I can hear myself. I'm actually finally doing those things that I am able to do. But then the cringe comes back when it's like, oh no, I fucked up on that again, or like I did this again, or man, like I need to improve on this, or when did I start doing that? So there are definitely ways of that. Oh, I like my voice, I just don't like hearing it. I don't know how. Yeah, I think I know where you're coming from. But anyways, I think back on this match, what was good is that I felt the pulse of the game. Sometimes I've been calling it the tug of war, but really it's kind of like on a rising and falling scale. I think you reflected that really well. Like in this beginning here, they got the pick and then they full rotated the other way, right? And you're like, oh, there's a bit of surprise in there. Like, oh, interesting. This is an interesting point. So you're communicating those things not only in what you're saying, but how you're saying it. So that's really good. I think strengths. I think you reflect the pulse of the match already pretty well. Or I'll say this. I hear the pulse of the match through your commentary, and it matches what seems reasonable, what seems accurate, I should say. We'll just leave that there for now. One thing, I'm hearing quite a bit of like, I'm hearing a lot of like proximity effect from your voice, actually. So there is this almost muddiness to it. Let me see how you're positioning your mic.
Overpass being quite maybe overpass this map. So it's been a while since I've cast Overpass. It's been a while since I've cast in general, so I apologize.
What kind of interface do you have? It almost feels like your gain is up actually quite a bit, like maybe a bit too high, and it's also close to you too. Go XLR Mini. Okay, yeah. So are you running a bunch of compression, or? Let me show you what my settings are at. Nope. Yeah, so this is where my settings are at. And so let's see, I think I turned up my mic gain a little bit today, but you know, I'm at 34 decibels. I'm running a bit of compression on myself here, and then I'm at like 85%. So, you know, use that with what you will. I think it does sound a little bit muddy, and I think it can definitely sound a lot more crisp if the settings are tuned right. So I think what might be happening is that, especially as a mic is lower relative to your voice, you're going to get a lot more of these bass tones, which is partly why I put it down here, but it also is like works logistically for me on my desk. So I think it's something to check out. Potentially lowering the gain a little bit and adding a bit of compression.
I apologize if things do go wrong.
Because your voice just can't be tamed.
But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to a lot of work to do between these. Hit those heads, and that is the first round going the way of EXO Esports. And I'd imagine we're going to be seeing quite a heavy buy coming out of this terrorist side now. Yeah, you can see 2 AKs and a Galil bought up with a couple of those SMGs to try and build up some of that money, some of that early game economy to gain an advantage going into the further later stages of this game. And Ryback now setting up with the flashbang to allow his teammates to peek on in. Actually opts out of it when Pommy pushes up long and doesn't spot any players whatsoever. But now he's being pushed and instantly taken out by Zoki with that AK in hand. A little bit of a slow round coming out now. Slow round indeed.
Almost as if it was
Esports Wells to really try and do into this round.
There's a lot going on the map, though. I think definitely could be commenting on some of that.
Only those USPs in hand, and Mister actually does manage to pick up one of them. Wally with another, actually, but quickly then refragged out by Noisy.
Yeah, I think your pulse in the game is so accurate, right? Like that.
Just to clean.
It's an eco. Team Tan's not going to win that, right? Or it shouldn't win that. That's not the expectation. So I definitely felt the pulse in the match moving in that direction. So I think you have a good... it's coming through in your voice, coming through in your commentary. That definitely felt like... okay, let's see here. Usually after a pistol being picked up, you'd expect the winning team to just go full in hard. Yeah. So I think that may be more the comment, right? Is that EXO wasn't... I mean, when you're saying it's a slow round, what do you mean by that? EXO... So there was that surprise that you had, or you're noting that this is a slower round, or you saying that it's a slow round means that it is a slower than what you'd expect. Well, if you expand on that, I think that can give a lot of good insight. Like, at this league, at this level, for this team, what is the context for which you are basing your that these eco rounds, these anti-ecos rather, tend to be faster, right? So I think expressing that would be good. Yep.
Anti-eco coming out for the EXO side. And now with that save coming out from Esports Wales into round 2 of this first half, they're able to buy straight into this third round and hopefully put up a bit more of a fight coming into this third round, and maybe try and get some rounds on the board themselves, as we see already EXO gearing up towards this B-bomb site. Already 3 players situated outside Monster, with a 4th quickly on his way. Only Ryback and Mister on that B-bomb site to try and fend off this attack from the EXO side. Mister being the only one with head armor on that B-bomb site, actually, and now the flashes go in. Ryback and Mister just trying to do whatever they can to try and fend off this attack, and not being able to do much. Ryback going down relatively quickly, and Mister follows him straight away. EXO looking rather formidable so far into this game. A 3-on-5 situation for Esports Wales, and they're not even going to attempt it. They're already running away. They're already saving those weapons and trying to keep some of that economy in their favor moving forward into this game. EXO coming out strong, coming out fighting. Taking heads, taking names.
Did you feel the energy drop there? You're taking a breath. Yes, you're taking a breath, and you have to, but that's not the gap here is not why I feel that. I think it's the you can let the cast breathe like that. Again, it's not ideal because it's a solo cast, but this is a tense moment right now. This is Team Tan. They get completely rushed. They are coming off of they just saved into this round. And all of a sudden, it's a 3v5 again. There's a lot stacked up against them. And even if you don't want to call it tension, what I do want to say here is that like we've lost maybe what's I think there's an opportunity here to make this really dire. In my understanding of CS and just tac shooters, this is a really critical moment here for CT side in this position. Down 0-2, you lost pistol round, you obviously lost your save round, and now you're finally on a full buy. You need to get some traction, or you're all of a sudden going to be back saving again, and you're going to be down 0-5 like immediately. That's a huge deal. So they really got to dig deep here. And so I think setting up that storyline or the anticipation of, ooh, like if they can't get this round, this is really rough for them. Right. There's a lot of ways to say this, I think, and you trust your instincts here, because I can tell you really understand the game, and it's really about like what is happening and what is important about what's happening now. So I think really, really, really like, you know, you should really feel that like your fingers on the pulse all the time, because your pulse is good. Your pulse is true on seeing the game. Let's see how you handle the energy going into this fight. So they're deciding to save, right? So I mean, that might have been a good time to. Maybe that's why you did this, actually.
Going to attempt it. They're already him straight a Ryback and Mister just trying to do whatever they can to try and fend off this attack, and not being able to do much. Ryback going down relatively quickly, and Mister follows him straight away. EXO looking rather formidable so far into this game. A 3-on-5 situation for Esports Wales, and they're not even going to attempt it. They're already running away. They're already saving those
okay, actually, you did call it out.
Trying to keep some of that economy in their favor moving forward into this game.
Okay. So I misread that. I thought that they were going to try to do some kind of
coming out strong,
re-entry.
Coming out fighting. Taking heads, taking names.
Yeah, so I take back what I said then. I think this is totally fine. I think the one thing I would say is that in this kind of situation, this is all building on the O2 on this third round of a team being able to fully buy. I think there can be a bit more anticipation, a bit more tension built up prior to that fight, right? If we're looking back here,
Mister being the only one with head armor on that B-bomb site. Mister,
right? We're seeing the setup. All right, they're stacking towards
this attack from the
stacking towards
XO
B.
side.
At this point, it's like, oh man, here we go, right? Utilities out. What are they gonna do? Right? I think this is the moment where you start to like, ooh, like it's starting to rise here.
Mister being the only one with head armor on that B-bomb site, actually, and
Molly's out, flashes. Here comes the entry, moving in, 2 versus the world. What can they do to stop this push? Lose, you know, it's down to Mister here, and he's not able to do it. They weren't able to mount this defense, and again, EXO is back onto the point, right? So it's like, I think that anticipation should really be starting in as they're doing that setup, right? Because that's the moment you're like, oh snap, things about to go down, right? And then seeing that play out, and because who knows, like Team Tan could start popping off. It's all on them, and that's really the moment, the payoff where we're like, and that's where the tension is super high, where you're like, oh, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? Oh no, the smokes are really good. Ah, they died. They're dead, right? But again, I think it's really it's trusting your instincts here, and yeah, I think you're already doing a lot of things really well. It's Keglunik. I'm always like pausing, like, am I saying this name right? How's it going? Doing well, man. So we did some VOD review earlier. I have these notes, which I'm gonna get to you. I'll go and paste for you, and maybe we'll find the timestamp. But basically, on the lower left of the VOD is I put the name of the person as we're going through it. So yeah, you can go back and check that out too, and feel free to follow up. But I'll send you that text after this. Keglunik. All right.
Again, EXO gearing up towards this B bomb site. It seems to be their favored method of attack so far into this game. 3 rounds out of 4 heading towards this B bomb site. This time Esports Wales do have 3 players situated over here, so it may be a little bit easier for them to try and hold this B bomb site. And Pommy now going to be spotting out the arm of Rai, that UMP in hand, not able to do too much damage in return. Some early exchanges coming out into this round, and straight away Zoki already gaining some of this map control into Monster. The perfect pop flash coming out from Exertas absolutely catches Ryback off guard, full white, and just has his head taken.
As a chef's kiss player right there.
A player disadvantage. I say already, we're over a minute into this round. That's a player disadvantage for Esports Wales. And now EXO showing all of that pressure towards that B bomb site and just rotating away. They like these late round rotations. And now Pommy in this connect position, he's going to be hearing these footsteps. That spray into water is actually going to give his position up. He flashes himself into connector actually, but I'm not sure if the T's know this. They don't. Pommy, one of them actually was watching behind, and that was Noisy. Managing to pick up Pommy, but Baldizmo, Ollie on the site now, manages to pick up 2. Ryan Zoki going down relatively quickly, and Mister and Wally tried rotating up from that.
That was a great sequence, Jakey.
Tried rotating up from that B bomb site, and unfortunately weren't able to connect their shots as they.
I think what I really like about what you're able to do there is again that pulse of the match. And Keglunik, I think this is something that I had some feedback for you too, and what hopefully you're hearing in Jakey here is the tone and all of the vocal tools you have, your pacing, your pitch, the intensity. Like when I'm saying intensity, I was like, oh, like that was a great match. Being like, that was a great match. Like I would never say that. It'll be like, that was a great match, right? That's a difference of intensity. Like that was a great match. That was a great match. That was a great match, right? So I'm the amount I'm really putting emphasis on what I'm saying, using all those tools to show like what is important when things are happening. What am I really looking for? That flank, right? Maybe because I understood also what was happening too, so it really it emphasized. But that moment of like, do they know? Like I don't know if they know, right? Are really great because it sets up that expectation, and there's that tension release of like, man, that could have been such a good flank, but he did get a trade. So I think like really know that's something that I think you're doing well, and to really dive into that a bit more, and probably the one area that we'll see if is handled more later, and this might be just from the fact that I don't know if you're solo producing this, Jakey, as well, like you're picking the POVs, and so things are happening very fast at the end of the round, but I think closing out the round in a strong fashion and being able to recognize everything that's happening, even though it's happening really quickly, to be able to have a really smooth takeaway and like, punctuation at the end of the round. So let's kind of go back again and kind of, again, as people are watching along here, really listen for the tension. How are you feeling the tension of the match happen over it? And as it's really crescendoing into this final play towards this site after they rotate, right? Great comment on they like these late rotations, or all the pressure on B site is forcing the Esports Wales, which I think are Team Tan, Esports Wales to have to respect it. They full rotate off at that point, right?
From these late Wales, and now EXO showing all of that pressure towards that B bomb site and just rotating away. They like these late round rotations, and now Pommy in this connect position, he's going to be hit.
Yeah, Jakey, one thing, especially with this mic, is there's a huge effect of speaking into it off axis too. So I'll do a little bit of demonstration. So if I put this more in front of my face and then I talk directly into it here, it's going to sound very different from when, so I'll talk a little bit here, right? You can hear a lot more of the presence. Each part of my, there's even the plosive probably is picked up a lot better, pretty sharply. But as I turn it away, it kind of mellows out a bit to where it's a lot more like it's consistent, and there's a little bit less like those peaks and the sounds of the consonants and whatnot are probably a lot more deadened. So if you're speaking off axis into it, it's going to sound a bit more like this. So just play around with some of the mic settings. I like it. I like to have it be at like a 45-degree angle, and then having it like kind of just below my breath line feels like a good balance, as opposed to it being like, directly in front of me and I'm like speaking into it. So, because it is I think there is a crispness that if you get your mic tuned in and dialed in that way, it'll sound really, really, really good.
Hearing these footsteps, that spray into water is actually going to give his position up. He flashes himself into connector actually, but I'm not sure if the T's know this. They don't. Pommy, one of them actually was watching behind, and that was Noisy. Managing to pick up Pommy, but Buldizmo, Ollie on the site now, manages to pick up 2. Ryan Zoki going down relatively quickly. And Mr. and Wally tried rotating up from that.
Those are tough, right? Because it's happening so fast. But I think if that's a smooth sequence, you can watch that over again and be like, okay, well, what can I watch for? What is really my expectation here? Am I watching for the perspective of, is Esports Wales going to be able to retake to match this rotation, given that their attention was split? Are we watching kind of from the perspective of the T's trying to take the site? I think having that intention going into it is going to help a lot, and something that I recommend Overwatch casters do as well, which is like, and I think for any it's going to help anywhere, is if you go in with some kind of expectation, let's say if you have a color caster here especially, or if you're doing it yourself, to say, Esports Wales are aware of this full rotation. What can they do to stop their push, right? Can be the kind of thing that you either say out loud or is in your head, right? Like the flank, not successful, but the rest of the team is here. What can they do? Ollie on the site, takes down 2, but there's still more. Can they close it? Whatever it happens to be. If it's along that same line from the perspective of that same team, it's going to be easier to chain those things together and the perspective of, right? So instead of seeing a tug of war from a side profile where you're kind of neutral and you're seeing go back and forth like this, if you align with the perspective, then it's going away or towards you, right? And it's a little easier to talk about the fight from that perspective. So like in Overwatch, it would be, are the attackers going to be able to win? That's usually where, if I was observing, if I'm casting, I'm trying to think about, what do they need to do to win this point, right? And then you can then say, in this case, you could choose either side. It's like, what do they need to do to win this point? In this case, you could say for the T side, right? Strong rotation, get onto the point, and watch for angles of the entry. Or you can say from the counter side, figure out how deep into the point they've gotten, given that you had your flanker die, you have some information. What can you do with that, right? So I think aligning yourself with a perspective will help. Perspective of a team will help you navigate those moments as it's happening very quickly.
Tried rotating up from that B bomb site, and unfortunately weren't able to connect their shots as they rotated up behind the trash container there. 4-0 to EXO Esports Wales. EXO Esports Wales. That's, I need to say it the other way around. 0-4 Esports Wales. That's going to be a tongue twister all night. 4-0 to EXO Esports. Team Tan now really need to get something on the board in order to try and get some momentum going. Not much is really going their way at this moment in time. Not really getting many opportunities to try and actually, as I say that, Ollie managing to get behind Lucy Monster and just absolutely ruins him with that Desert Eagle, and now an AK in hand, and all of this information playing towards Esports Wales. Pommy with a peek from Bathrooms manages to take down 1 and more on mid, and now it's a 5-on-3 situation in this full eco round for Esports Wales. I say
you hear the
pistols. They did have all Eagles.
Any gauntlet started. I'm going to watch that for a bit.
On Wally. And
yeah. I actually want to check that along.
Comfortable 4 rounds actually look rather shaky right now.
I think what I want to do is after this, we'll go to let's watch a bit of Gauntlet too, and we'll kind of comment on it. I think it's Jen and Leg Day right now, right? Lemon Kiwi Leg Day.
And yeah, Lucamino doesn't have the Transcendence yet.
Oh, it's Trade Necro.
No
Nice. Yeah. So we can watch a little bit of that. But yeah, hopefully what people are hearing is like, just hear how easy it is to follow along this match. JK, I think you could have pointed out, like, this is a dire situation for them, right? Like, oh man, they're on another eco after losing their first gun round. Now they got an eco again. Like, dude, this is rough. And then, but that point of that, you feel that momentum. You feel like, wait, that was a nice shot. Wait, they got an AK. What, another pick? What's going on here? Right? Like, that's what you should be feeling as audience members, because that's truly what's happening in this match. It's like, hold, like, they should not be winning this match. They should not be winning this round.
Not really showing much aggression that they've shown into the first few rounds, and Noisy actually does manage to pick up one of his own. The pop flash comes in from Ryback on that A bomb site to try and allow Wally to peek in, but Noisy does peek away from it, and Ryback does actually manage to pick up that frag.
Dead body.
Now only Ollie and Ryback on this A bomb site, and Exertus with a big 2K, allowing him to get onto this A bomb site and
your
leave
mic,
it in a one-on-one
I think your mic gain is
situation.
too high
Only
right now. We definitely need some compression on that.
Bathrooms. Desert Eagle
It'll help. It'll help.
Plenty of Desert Eagle headshots so far, and Exertus peeking out from behind Optimus and takes his head, and that's
Keglunik. Would putting emotion to every dire incident without overdoing it be the best style always? No. Well, don't think about it as you're putting emotion into everything. And I think this is where it was kind of obvious, Keglunik. I think you have like a cruise control right now that is what I call caster voice, of you have an idea of what you think you should sound like. I think what I want you to do is channel more of what is the right, what should the audience be feeling in that moment, right? I think I can fairly say that Jakey is not trying to go for a very specific sound here. What he is doing is very much trying to reflect the pulse of the match. I think about it in that way. What is, not should I be putting in emotion, but what is the emotion? How dire is it? How not dire is it? Like, there's a difference between, like, at the end of this round here, you don't have that, like, and he clutches it out if it's a 1v5 and the team that had only one player dies. You know, it's, and he clutches it out, right? It's like, and they close it out. It's a quick match, you know, very one-sided. But there, it's a 1v1 that was almost brought back because of some really good opening kills. So think about it more that way. What is the emotion of the match? What is the actual feeling of it? And the more you're thinking about that, the other things will come along as well. So hopefully that's helpful. Because the biggest thing is, I think whatever I call caster voice is when people go into cruise control, and this is extremely common. And pretty much everyone goes through this, and before they recognize that they're doing it, is when you're consciously competent at the game, and you're like, all right, I'm just gonna talk, like I'm just gonna say what I'm thinking, and so instead, this is something that you'll need to really practice and work on, and make sure that you're implementing in the right way.
That was just dirty coming out from Exertas. A tidy 3K, 1 versus 3 to clean up that round for XO Esports. Coming back from a 3-on-5 situation. Esports Wales are going to be kicking themselves after that round, but now we do see the full buy coming out. Full utility, full M4s, and that singular AWP onto Ollie. The AWP on the other side coming out in the form of Lucy Monster. Let's see whether we're going to be able to get any of these picks coming out from these AWPs. See whether we're going to see anything relatively nutty, as they all say. But
as the kids say,
5-0 lead for XO Esports right now. Not looking like they're slowing down anytime soon. That last round was a bit of a slip on the walkway, but instantly it's straight back into sprinting. Again, this aggression being shown towards this B bomb site now. 2 players already set up in the monster tunnel, but this position here from Wally could be everything. If he manages to catch off Lucy Monster as they try and push through this water tunnel here, could be everything. But he does have Noisy in the form, well, he does have a player in the form of Noisy in Connector. And this could be everything. If Wally manages to catch off at least one of these players, it could ruin this push completely. That nade is huge, does amazing damage onto Rye, and now Ryback pushing onto the bomb site. Oh, it does manage to take down one, but quickly traded out. Exertas coming in huge again, and this flank actually coming out from Noisy. Has it been heard? I don't think it has. Pommy isn't looking that direction. He is now. Timer is the enemy, though, and Ollie picking up that last frag and actually putting the first round on the board for Esports Wales Team Tan. Not without its cost, though. 2 of the players going down, and that economy still isn't looking that great for...
Yeah, so I think right now the level up around this is going to be around the polish. Because I think you have the right instincts, and it's coming across, it's actually communicating pretty well. So I would, as you're doing external study, listen for how people are entering in and out of rising and falling tension. Because I think your instincts are really good and you have a good pulse in the match, and now it's about like polishing it up, truly. So at the end of the team fight, how are the pros who are really good pulling together information? And what I really want to look for is what is the altitude to which they're talking about the match, because I can almost guarantee that if you, the really, really good casters, if you can be on the dot with seeing the information and being able to have the words follow up and at that specific, at like a close specificity, they will do that. However, if there is chaos, you zoom out, right? Like, I think it's fair to say that whenever there's something chaotic, you're going to zoom out so you can say something that's still accurate and in time and in rhythm, but is not going to be at much of a risk for you to mess up the call, right? So yeah, watch for that. I would say level up as your external study. How do the pros, pro play-by-plays handle chaos and end of fights? Do they zoom out to speak more macro? Or are they able to keep up with the micro details while maintaining rhythm? So I think if you're able to understand how a bunch of people do it, you're going to be like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing here, right? And I really, really, really don't like when people are just naming off numbers of frags. So, oh, gets 1, gets 2, gets 3. Like, that's something I think you can save for really critical moments of like a 1v5, like, is a great situation where I think that makes sense, right? One person versus the world. Like, oh, great opening pick. That's 1 down. Going for his second. He's able to clutch it out. 1v3 now, right? So it's like, it's a tool to build tension as opposed to just like a comfort or like a crutch, right? So yeah, dude, I think you're doing great here. It's about the polish though of communicating these instincts that you have and the pulse, but I think just do trust that, because I think that's something that is a mark of a really good tack shooter caster, and something that's super important and something that not many people do well. So really, if you can get this polished up, your instincts are there, you know what to look for, and now it's about making it really shine for when those payoff moments happen. Like here, you have 2 opening picks on a deagle round, on a save round for this team, and almost winning the round, right? Like that was a great moment, and you had all the right instincts, but that elevates even more is when there's that's when the wordplay comes in. That's when those are the memorable moments, right? Is when we see something that maybe is a bit unexpected or an extraordinary event happening, and then yeah, just seeing how it plays out. So coolio. Let's see here. How's the timing? So I'm gonna get to Emmy stuff probably tomorrow. Or I might do it off air here and do that because, hey, I want to use the restroom. Where are they on the broadcast here?
So much responsibility with when to use that immortality field.
Is it anyone here? Yeah, you know, I think I'm gonna kill it. We'll we can talk in contenders chat, for sure. But yeah, I'm going to, you know, thanks everyone for joining here. Hopefully this is fun and exciting. Great. Yeah, I'm happy that it's helpful. Let's get a little music as we close out here. How long have we been going for? Oh, this has been 3 hours. Holy moly. Yeah, so I think I'm going to start doing these weekly. I don't want it to always be VOD reviews, but what I would really like to start doing is pull in some pros and walk through some of their casts and see what they think about themselves. I think if the more that you're able to see how people think in those moments directly from the source, that's the most helpful thing. Because all I'm doing, the benefit that I know I'm able to bring is that I've just listened to a lot of people in a way to where I'm trying to understand what I feel works and what doesn't. So identifying those things, I think, is important for you to know how to expand your tool belt and tool set. Right now, if you only, and I keep pushing external VOD review, because you might be coming into this with, like, you're running a kitchen and you have like 2 knives and you're just really working on, you're VOD reviewing yourself constantly. That's like you're sharpening those 2 knives only, right? But maybe sometimes you got to use a can opener. And so, like, no matter how sharp that knife is, it's not going to do the job as well as a can opener would, right? Or maybe, you know, a descaler on you know, when you're preparing your fish. So the external study is truly about expanding your tool set, being aware of these other things happening. Otherwise, you're going to get a great sharp knife or 2, but are you able to cook as well as the pros, right? You need to understand what tools they're using, how they're approaching it, how they're thinking about it, in order to get the effect. So yeah, I think the study is, it's great to VOD review and give specific feedback. I think this is definitely helpful for you to hear maybe some feedback specifically on what I'm hearing, what just another person's hearing. But I definitely want to do some more external study to where we're like, let's watch someone who's really, really good at what they're doing and kind of deconstruct what makes it so great. But anyways, thanks everyone for stopping by. Hopefully this is fun. Hop into the Discord if you haven't already. That should pull it up there. So yeah, we're gonna start doing weekly streams on, probably keep it to the Saturdays. I think during the week it's been kind of hard to stream unless I do it super early. So yeah, that's it. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And if you want a link to the VOD, I'm gonna publish this out, get it onto YouTube, but it will be here in the past broadcast for 14 days. So go ahead and check that out. Anyways, thanks everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.